It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program. The phones are open here, and you can join us and bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Coming up, the story that I said we were going to get to last night, and we never ended up getting there, which is the news media, major media, covering a migration of crypto-libertarian types to Honduras.
Oh, that's right. I've heard a bit about this Honduras movement project. I don't know what Mark is calling it, but I've heard a bit about it.
Well, this isn't specifically about the Mark Move Here project. This is about one of the ones that inspired Mark to create his own Move Here project. So we'll get into that. Mark, of course, is our co-host. He's not here to defend himself here tonight, but he might be listening. I don't know. We'll get into that coming up here in a little bit. Of course, with you here tonight, you've got Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
Aria, you wanted to talk about the big buzz on Twitter and Facebook and various social medias today, and it's not Pedo Peter, which we talked about last night. Pedo Peter, which is the name that they say Hunter Biden had his dad, Joe Biden, listed in his phone when 4chan hacked his iCloud account and downloaded 500 gigabytes of data within the last 48 hours.
I've heard all this. I just haven't heard the tidbits, like his password and what he actually called his dad. If it's in fact his dad, why is it Peter?
There was, I don't have that in front of me right now, but there's some sort of reference that there's another story out there regarding Joe Biden calling himself Peter in some sort of circumstance, and I apologize for not remembering the details on it. I have not been following this intimately, very, very closely, but it is an interesting story.
Probably because it's all distraction to take away from the real.
You think the Hunter Biden thing's a distraction?
Oh, hell yeah!
Really?
It's the takeaway from the Biden crime family, from what they actually from the meat and potatoes problem that we have here, and that is his influence in Ukraine.
But it's part of the Hunter Biden iCloud leak, right?
There very well could be information in his iCloud about Ukraine.
Yeah, but the only thing they're going to talk about is crack and prostitutes, women of the night.
But it's only been
him calling his dad
days.
a pedo.
It's only been 2 days, and there's images apparently that are coming out of Hunter Biden with little girls. Obviously they can't share anything that's explicit or whatever, but there's an image with him laying, not quite on a couch. I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but it's been shared on Twitter with 5 or 6 girls that could not be older than 9 or 10 years old,
wow,
maybe even younger than that, just kind of scattered around him. They're not naked. They're just hanging out with him, and he's laying on his back looking up at them, and it's very, very strange for a man who apparently doesn't have any children of his own. Mm-hmm. It's not like there was a sleepover going on with his kids or something.
That's sort of the issue, right? No, okay, sure, these kids were not naked, but I can't think of any explanation for why this situation would have occurred that wasn't highly questionable.
Yeah, no doubt. Who were these people? Who were these kids?
Yeah.
And why were they there at Hunter Biden's house, who is a known drug addict who fraternizes with prostitutes? And again, if you want to fraternize with prostitutes and do drugs, that's totally fine.
Yeah, I don't care.
But I think most people would probably turn their nose up at the idea of having some little children hanging around for, perhaps those things that might have been going on. It's very strange. And he is topless in the photo, wearing boxer shorts or something like that.
Which is additionally unusual, right? Yeah. It's all very peculiar. I don't know. This is the first I've heard about Joe Biden perhaps referring to himself as Peter at some point.
This is Hunter who... Oh, yeah. You're talking about the other story. I'll see if I can find that for you.
Okay.
Because it was in mainstream news.
But Hunter Biden, he's definitely got a sordid past.
He's a character.
Yes.
So, but you wanted to talk about Jill Biden.
I did, because she's being slammed for comparing Latino people to tacos.
Yes, she is.
When I saw this, I was just stunned. I was like, oh, okay, there's no way someone is this tone deaf. But no, sure enough, she did. A Hispanic journalist group slammed the First Lady, and they're not the only ones. I'm sure she's just getting ripped apart on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else for a Monday speech in which she compared diversity among Latinos to the uniqueness of breakfast tacos.
Wow. You know what? Another distraction. I'm calling it. This is just another. Their families in so much deep hot water right now. You know what better? And I listened to the quote. I'm not. I
think she's just a silly old woman.
I'm not upset about it. I mean, it's dumb. It's a lame comparison. But,
I'm not upset either, but I'm not the one being compared to a breakfast taco.
Yeah, but I've been called a cracker my whole life, so I'm really not upset about any of this.
Would you have been more upset though if like Michelle Obama was giving a speech and said something about
crackers?
You're as unique as the saltines that inspire your nickname or whatever?
She probably says all of that behind closed doors. I wouldn't be surprised.
But not publicly.
Michelle is a nasty woman.
I mean, yes, but there's a huge difference between saying that in private and saying it publicly. Biden was addressing the progressive Latino nonprofit group Unidos US in San Antonio, Texas, which, Ian, you said Bonnie suggested that San Antonio is, in fact, famous for its breakfast tacos.
Yeah, when this news came out this morning, Bonnie, who lived in San Antonio for some number of years, she didn't seem to take this as harsh as a lot of the people on the internet are taking it. She kind of dismissed it to some extent, saying that San Antonio is known for its variety of breakfast tacos. It's apparently a very popular dish in San Antonio.
Why would anyone not in San Antonio know that, though? I mean, it's not like Memphis and barbecue,
because the people who is complaining.
The San Antonio people do know that.
I know, but why would anyone not in San Antonio know that?
Because they're not the people who are complaining. It's everyone else in the world. It's a distraction.
She was talking to people in San Antonio, I presume, and trying to like when you're at a rock concert or whatever, the guy on stage, the singer, will reference the town in which the concert is happening.
Yeah, it's always the best town he's ever played in.
Yeah,
or she.
So I think she was trying. Bonnie's interpretation was she was trying to do something like that, and obviously has failed miserably at it.
I believe she was trying to do something like that. And I'm not saying she wasn't. It's a bad decision on her part.
It's bad writing, whether she wrote the speech or not.
Exactly. Yeah. If she even wrote any of this, I mean, it's probably her handlers, and it's the same for Biden, by the way. All the gaffes.
There was a recent speech where he read "end of line."
Yeah,
it's
so bad. It's like, is he being set up?
Hold on, because
by his handlers, because they're ready to take this guy out.
You haven't heard the end of line clip?
No.
Well, first let's play Jill Biden. I got the clip here, or what is it? Purportedly the clip.
Diversity of this community, as distinct as the Bogotas of the Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
See, it's not that bad.
No, it's just stupid, and it's a poor decision on her part.
It's getting some good memes, though. I bet.
Again, this isn't like her talking about Memphis barbecue or something along those lines, or the lobster of Maine or something like that, where it's just well known throughout the entire country that these places are famous for those particular foods.
But those comparisons would be acceptable if you were to
because those are well known.
If you were to compare New Englanders to some seafood dish. They're not going to lose their mind and flip out about that.
No one would.
They'd be like, hell yeah, we got the best clam chowder in New England.
But that's exactly it. No one would flip out about that because everyone knows that New England has the best seafood, and everyone knows that Memphis has the best barbecue. But no one knows that San Antonio has the best breakfast tacos.
Whether people know it or not, it would still be a ham-fisted attempt if this woman got up in Boston and started talking about how white people in Boston are, like the variety of crabs, off the
and by the way, let's go back in time. Let's talk about pandering. Don't you remember Hillary Clinton when she was on that black network?
Yeah, and she pulled out the hot sauce.
She didn't pull it out, but they were talking.
Claimed that she had.
Yeah,
it, right?
she left it in the trailer or something. But yeah,
what did she do?
She says,
she carries around hot sauce in her purse
to some black guys, to black families.
She was trying to be with it. With her audience.
We need to play that one too.
If you want to weigh in here, you can join us on Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, Pedo Peter. The number is 603-283-6160. You can bring up whatever's on your mind here. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. FreePrivateCities.com. There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and you are welcome to join us here. Talking about the Jill Biden breakfast taco controversy. Conan says this is just a big distraction, and we'll get into that coming up here in just a moment. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. If you're ready to start learning about cryptocurrency, by the way, Bitcoin price dropped below 20,000, I think, last night, and it's been there ever since, so it might be a good time to pick a little bit up. But you got to do some research first. Learn some of the basics about cryptocurrency, and you can do that over at Bitcoin.com. They can help you. Just click Get Started at the top of the page, And you can watch some introductory videos there that'll give you some of the basics, which you really ought to understand before you dig any deeper and actually buy some of it. Once again, go to Bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And Arya.
And Conan.
And don't forget for the latest news headlines for crypto, they got those too over at news.bitcoin.com. So, Conan, you asked me to pull up the Hillary Clinton clip from...
This is peak pandering.
2017.
And this dude picked up on it immediately. He knows what's up.
Yeah. So she's sitting down with a group called the Breakfast Club. And I got the audio here, courtesy of Why Hillary Lost on YouTube. Here it is.
Questions? They said no, she has to go.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now? Hot sauce. Hot sauce in my bag, Swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
She's a nasty woman.
That is nasty.
She's so tone deaf.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, as someone who does carry hot sauce in my purse, though, I'm offended by that as a person who likes hot sauce.
She should have been called out on it and said, let's see it.
Yeah, have some, taste it, right?
I want to see what brand you carry around. But pull it out.
If you like hot sauce enough to carry it around, you could easily take a dab out on your tongue and you'll be fine.
But I don't think that the interviewers were anti-Hillary or in any way critical towards her. I mean, having not seen any of the rest of the interview, just based on the surroundings, there's on the background, there's like a hand-drawn heart with the Hillary logo inside of it, fighting for us. So these people, I think, are fans likely of Hillary, and they're just kind of joking with her. But it's
still disgusting.
Oh, absolutely. Her behavior is despicable. There's no doubt about it. And that's kind of, as far as this being a distraction, Conan, as far as Jill Biden talking about Hispanics and comparing them to the variety of breakfast tacos available in San Antonio, it's just entertaining to watch these guys screw this up so bad.
But I mean, as far as the distraction is concerned, the way that I'm seeing this, this is a lot easier for people to digest. They understand the tone deafness of these elites,
or the
hypocrisy. They can latch on to that because it's easy for little brains to understand and to latch onto. Whereas all of the other nonsense that's been going on for years, that some people are covering, mainstream media is not covering the Hunter or the Biden crime family and their
They're not talking about pedo Peter.
No, not yet anyways.
They're not going to ever talk about that.
Well, they might if they want to take the guy out, because that's another theory, is that Biden he's on his way out. They can't have him.
He hasn't even been in for 2 years yet.
You can't have him screwing up the way that he is. They're going to lose this year. They're going to lose in this upcoming election really
even
badly.
With the
and they need a scapegoat.
Roe versus Wade decision.
Hell yeah!
That's going to flip a bunch of voters to the Dems.
If they had rolled it out a couple of months later, like closer to the elections, maybe.
You think people will forget about it?
But it's way too early in the system, unless they have some other tactics up their sleeves to rile up the progressive base.
Well, I got to say,
because right now it seems to me every week or 2 weeks there's a new thing for the left to go bitterly crazy over it.
If they boot Biden out and put Kamala Harris in his place, it'll be a major disappointment, because then we'll miss wonderful, entertaining moments like this one.
Yeah, but
this one.
It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line.
Wow. Can we get that one more time, please?
And you know what? They changed it in the official transcript.
What did they change?
They updated it. They said to repeat the line, but as in part of the speech and not a directive to the president.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird. All right, a little more here for you, Arya.
Register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line.
Oh, man, you always hope to actually catch something like that, right? Like,
he's done it more than once.
I know.
He does one of these. He's got a good gaffe.
Oh, yeah.
Every week,
every month,
every week.
Yeah. So
and now his wife is catching up to him.
I mean, it's not as entertaining as Donald Trump for sure with all the tweets, but that said.
It reminds me of the South Park episode where they were fighting about whether or not to pull Kenny from life support or whatever, and they had one of these evil Republicans getting talked to by the devil, and the devil had to whisper him, no, you don't repeat that part. And sure enough, Dick Cheney or whoever it was goes, no, you don't repeat that part.
It reminds me of this. Are you guys watching The Boys?
No.
So there was kind of a minor spoiler here. They're having a discussion. The hero and the bad guy, the Trump guy. Which, by the way, the whole show is an analogy of Trump, Trumpism. And he let out a lot of incriminating information, and then she pulls out her camera saying, "I just taped the whole thing." And then he's like, dude, you're not supposed to record while we're doing our lines. Meaning the whole thing was fabricated from the get-go. So he was trying to cover it his butt.
So what is this Boys show? Where is it at?
Boys is it's the Netflix? Newest superhero flicks. There's 3 seasons out so far, and basically the most interesting aspect of the show is it portrays these superheroes as true superheroes would really act. If you had godlike powers, would you spend your days, flying around saving people? Or would you be a nasty piece of work like the Greek gods, which, by the way, were very entertaining for lots and lots of people for thousands of years, hundreds of years at least?
I didn't think most people, it's going to vary based on who you ask, but I think for most libertarians, the answer would be that they would probably, at least spend some part of their time helping people.
Yeah, but what if you were also mentally insane and you had godlike powers?
Well, that's a very different question.
What if you were mentally abused as a child, and then you grew up to have these godlike powers, and they start to shine? How about Hunter Biden?
Mm-hmm.
Well, being abused as a child is no excuse for someone to pay it forward as an adult.
Of course not, but it happens.
But a lot of people don't pay it forward because they don't have the powers, the capabilities to actually go out. Some of them do when they, some of these nut kids, they buy their rifles on credit and then they go shoot up a school. But most people don't have the capabilities of taking out their angst on the people who they feel have wronged them.
You're right that
but if you could just melt somebody with your eyes, and someone pisses you off, are you telling me you're not gonna? I don't know.
I wouldn't
melt a couple people.
I'm not an angsty teenager.
We got more coming up here. The number is 603-283-6160. I did find the story where Joe Biden refers to himself as Peter, and we'll share that with you coming up here in moments. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live's video archives have been on Library for years. Library is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, Library launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off, now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. The number of candidates running to succeed Boris Johnson as leader of the UK's Conservative Party and Prime Minister has been whittled down from 11 to 8. Nominations for the party's leadership closed today, and those who did not receive more than 20 votes from fellow lawmakers were ruled out of the race. From FSN's London Bureau, Chris Jones with more.
Former Health Secretary Sajid Javid has withdrawn from the contest, as has main underdog Raymond Chishti. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps pulled out earlier on Tuesday. He says he will now back Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, for the role. 8 still remain in the race, and they will now face 2 rounds of voting before a final 2 candidates remain. A new Prime Minister will be selected by September the 5th.
The House of Representatives Select Committee investigating last year's insurrection by Trump supporters on Capitol Hill has heard evidence relating to a screaming heating argument in the Oval Office over a call for the Department of Justice to seize the nation's voting machines. The plan was put forward by members of Donald Trump's legal team, including former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Another member of that team, Sidney Powell, testified that President Trump had appointed her special counsel, giving her the power to seize the machines, but his top legal officials at the White House balked at the plan.
The president said, okay, I'm naming her that, and I'm giving her security clearance, and then shortly before we left, and it totally blew up, was when Cipollone and/or Hirschman and whoever the other young man was said, you can name her whatever you want to name her, and no one's going to pay any attention to it.
Pat Cipollone, the top legal official in the White House, told the committee he vehemently opposed the promotion of Ms. Powell and argued there was no legal case for the Department of Justice to seize the machines. The hearing also took evidence from Trump supporters who responded to his call to descend on the U.S. Capitol in January last year. The US is accusing Iran of preparing to transfer drones to Russia. The White House says Tehran may also provide the Russians with training on how to use them. From FSN's New York bureau, Will Denzelo reports.
US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan announced that Iran is planning to give several hundred drones to Russia. He added that some of them would be weapons capable and that Tehran could also provide training on how to use them. According to Iranian state media, a foreign ministry spokesperson neither confirmed nor rejected Sullivan's comments.
NASA has unveiled more astonishing images captured by the James Webb Space Telescope. It's now fully operational 100 million miles from Earth, and the 4 images released today show what the Washington Post called the faint light of galaxies forming in the infancy of the cosmos. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can join the show. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about some of the Biden gaffes, which I've now extended to Jill Biden, referring to Hispanic people as breakfast tacos.
It's so funny.
Just a poorly written speech.
I want the person who made that cartoon of Joe Biden talking about kids stroking his leg hair. I want him to make an extended clip where he just takes all the best gaffes from Jill and Joe Biden. He just condenses them into like a 12 to 15 minute video that's
Too
animated.
long. People won't watch it.
I would watch it.
Well, yeah. But young people won't watch it. It's got to be short.
Young people don't vote. Screw them.
That's true.
Breakfast tacos have egg in them, right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Is this even a Hispanic dish, or is this something that is this something that has been Americanized over the years?
That's probably. I'm gonna guess that you're correct about that. In the same way that Chinese food is not really Chinese food in America, it's Americanized Chinese food. So a lot of that's true with tacos and burritos. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody said, "Hey, let's put some eggs in that taco."
Someone with some ethnic variety, call in and tell me what the hell a breakfast taco is.
I mean,
Bonnie I'm looking at some recipes. It looks like there's a whole bunch.
Bonnie's here in the studio now, and she is originally from San Antonio, or at least she spent a number of years in San Antonio. Bonnie, can you step up and answer Conan's question about what is a breakfast taco as someone who spent time there?
Who lives in the midst of the
Thank you, because
in the midst of the breakfast tacos.
I was texting I was trying to comment on YouTube because I was getting annoyed. I told Ann all this yesterday. I don't feel like she actually made that bad
by the
of a
way,
gaffe.
I told your perspective.
That's how I lean as well.
It doesn't sound to me like she's calling the Hispanic people breakfast tacos, but it was obviously written by somebody from San Antonio, not Jill Biden, who anyone from San Antonio would make a similar joke. Like, breakfast tacos are supposedly our thing. My ex-best friend's first words were bean and cheese, because he always wanted a bean and cheese. And
is that a breakfast taco, or does it have to have eggs?
It doesn't have to have eggs, but most of them have eggs, and bacon and potatoes. That's the ones I like.
Yeah, it's regional. It's just like calling someone from Massachusetts a chowderhead.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same
really
thing.
wasn't as bad as it
It's not that
sounds.
bad.
Yeah, and anyone in San Antonio would have made like the same joke.
The tone deaf aspect of it is not that it's just calling people from San Antonio. It's specifically talking about Hispanic people and likening them to tacos. So
I thought she was talking about the diversity.
She's talking about the diversity of Hispanics.
But she said they're as diverse as the breakfast tacos of San Antonio. Like, it's a pretty stupid thing to say, I guess, but especially from like a white lady that's obviously not from San Antonio. I think she's from Delaware or something. But
yeah, I think so.
Anyways, back to you, Aria.
Yeah, she's a chatterhead for sure.
Thank you, buddy.
Her and Biden.
I mean, to me, just the idea that we had to say, look, when she compared people to breakfast tacos, she wasn't trying to be offensive. Just the fact that we even have to say that is absurd. That's the level of theater that the political system is at.
If the common folk were to call each other breakfast tacos or chowderheads, it'd be all right. The fact that she's an elite and she's up at the top and she's got people cleaning her toilet and washing her car and cutting her grass. The fact that she's so far above us, that's where the problem is. So you really need to watch the things that you say around the common people. Otherwise, they're gonna have a field day with you.
It's certainly not. And when you just take this one instance, it's not so bad. But when you look at what her husband has said about black people in the past,
oh, that's right. He was the one who said, "If you don't vote for me, then you're ain't
not black." Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he also said, again, I don't have the list of quotes in front of me, but didn't he also suggest that black people couldn't figure out how to use the internet at one point?
I don't remember that one, but he said something about, he was talking about poor people, and he specifically went right to black kids.
He said black kids are, what did he say? Poor kids can be as successful as white kids or something like that. Yeah. My favorite Joe Biden quote, though, was, end of quote, repeat line.
Which we played for you just a few moments ago.
That's truly words of wisdom.
Which they changed in the official transcripts to, let me repeat the line. Which he did not.
That's not what he said.
That's not what he said.
And then he didn't repeat the line. He just stood there going, repeat the line.
Yeah, no, he moved on. He moved to the next paragraph or whatever was in there, so he did not follow the instruction. Let's go to the phones here. We got Mehdi on the line in Canada. Mehdi, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, hi guys.
Hey, what's on your mind?
So I was talking about a paper that DARPA hired. So DARPA hired a company called Trail of Bits to give them a paper or to do some kind of analysis. It was finished on June 2022, and the paper is called Are Blockchains Decentralized? Unintended Centralities in Distributed Ledgers. And it seems like as kind of like a summary of what this paper seems, what it's trying to do. And I did email it to the Free Talk Live if you guys were interested in seeing it. It seems like so it seems like DARPA is aware that they cannot centralize the actual cryptocurrency.
Who is DARPA?
And it seems like they're looking. DARPA is the defense. I think they're an arm of the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
DARPA. Do you say who's DARPA?
Yeah. Defense Advanced Research Projects.
Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. I believe they're an arm of the Pentagon, but I'm not sure.
I think you're right about that. Yeah.
What do they care about cryptocurrency? I mean, why should I care what they have to say about centralization aspects of it? I mean, we know that parts of the centralization structures can arise within a decentralized network.
Well, Mehdi actually called about this, I think, over the weekend and read the executive summary of the paper to us. Or maybe it was Friday night, I think. But anyway, it seems like their goal is to try to disrupt cryptocurrency. They care because they work for the government. They are the government, and they are a military arm of the government, but they're more like the tech side of the military arm. So somebody probably instructed them to say, see what you can figure out about taking down Bitcoin
in order to prevent technological surprise.
This is what they said.
This is what they say. And I think their problem is the fact that it isn't centralized, and it's something. And this is a pain in the butt of everyone who's seeking control.
Mm-hmm.
If they're losing their control, they're going to spend all of our money, all our taxpayer money, trying to figure out how to control these new technologies.
And so they have a bunch of different ways of trying to get to centralization use of crypto. And so the last couple two, there's one, it's called network centrality. And what they're saying is, are the nodes sufficiently geographically dispersed such that they are uniformly distributed across the internet? What would happen if a malicious internet provider or nation state decided to block or filter all DLT traffic? And under that section of the paper where they're talking about the network centrality, that's where they mention 60% of all Bitcoin traffic has traversed just 3 ISPs. And the paper they quote, though, was from 2017. So maybe it's more now, I don't know. But, and they say any third party on the network route between nodes, example ISPs, Wi-Fi access point operators, or governments, can observe and choose to drop any messages they wish. And to give some example about Alice giving a Bitcoin to Bob and what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's bad actors could definitely cause trouble for these networks, but I don't think that, 60% going through 3 ISPs is going to kill Bitcoin. As long as there's a few nodes out there operating, and as long as there's some people out there mining, the system will continue.
Didn't someone conduct a transaction via ham radio a number of years ago or something like that? I mean, yeah, there are always ways to avoid centralization. I don't particularly see the issues here.
Wait, how do you do that through ham radio? You're sending.
Dude, I don't remember.
Very slowly.
We're talking about a lot of information.
No, it's not that much.
It was all very technical. Don't get me lying, man.
A Bitcoin transaction isn't that much information. I mean, it's just a little bit of data.
Aren't they kept at about 1 megabyte? So I mean, yeah, that's not a whole lot of data.
Mehdi, I'm not sure what you're driving at here, so stand by. We'll bring you back in just a moment because I know the government gang wants to stop cryptocurrency, and this is obviously this research paper is part of that process of them trying to figure out how, but I don't think they're going to be able to. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. That said, people in these networks ought to be aware of making them as decentralized as possible.
Because we are smothering in spam, please do not reply to all when you can instead reply. I was recently among over 100 invited to a corporate reunion. It's always a warm affair, and that's the problem. Enthusiasm for our upcoming get-together caused many recipients to RSVP the organizer with a cheery reply to all. I can't wait. Then others piled on with a reply to all to that. Then the "I'm out of my office now" autoresponders joined in. So I replied to all, asking that we all reply only to the organizer. Hey, at least I tried. One invitee, apparently retired, shot back, "Point taken, but I really like seeing the responses since they're so positive." Smiley face. This better be an open bar. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
We're talking about the immigration situation here in this country. Now, Jeff, you have a 5-point plan. I'd like for you to go over the 5 points again.
Oh, sure. Hold on. I just got to turn to the page.
That's fine. And if you, he's got pages worth of
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Number one, close the borders. Put up a barrier on the border. And I mean a barrier.
Like a great wall?
Yeah, a great wall, barrier, stone wall.
Right.
I mean, something that's secure. And then you put a moat underneath.
Holy crap. Alligators in the moat?
All right.
you've got more though, right? We got a wall and a moat, and then what?
And you can put sensors on there. The motion detector.
Motion tracking machine guns too. Spit out some 50 cals at them if it moves.
Ninjas. That's what we need. We just need ninjas mounted at 10-foot intervals along this wall. The border ninjas.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open, and you can join us here. Bring up whatever you want, whether you want to comment on the pedo Peter allegations. Is Joe Biden referred to in Hunter Biden's cell phone as pedo Peter? That is what the 4chan folks, people on the internet, are alleging was found in the new 500-gigabyte leak of what is allegedly on Hunter Biden's iCloud account. Somebody found some images of text messages between Joe Biden, or what is alleged to be Joe Biden, and somebody claims, again, a lot. You just have to sort of believe or not what people are saying about this, unless you want to download the questionable 500 gigabyte file and parse through it yourself. But,
I mean, isn't there some sort of... Well, no, not with Julian Assange. Question withdrawn. I was going to ask whether or not there was some sort of journalistic protection for people who, for journalistic reasons, really just needed to comb through this for the purpose of finding out whether or not there's something here the public needs to know.
But it might have child pornography in it,
right.
So therefore it would be a federal crime.
And we learned from Julian Assange and all of these other journalists that no, there is in fact no protection whatsoever for doing journalism, and they will charge you if they want to. So if you download this archive and it's got child porn or whatever in it, they can and will charge you.
And if you're like most journalists out there, and all you really do is monitor Twitter and tweet journal.
Dude, I hate that so much. You go to a news website to find out about something, and it's just a copied and pasted tweets over and over, and then a screenshot of the tweet that they literally just copied and pasted. Sloppy journalism.
It's the new way.
Let's bring Mehdi back on the line here. He was calling in about DARPA, which is the Defense something or other research project, and the tech side, if you will, of the Pentagon. And they apparently have been researching Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to see how truly decentralized they are or not. And they found out some interesting things. You shared some of the executive summary with us a few nights ago, but I guess there was something else you wanted to say, so go ahead, Mehdi.
Yeah, sure. So with the as far as that 51% attack, their 51% attacks, what they said is that they don't mention the actual cost, because I remember you asking, well, that would be an insane cost. Like, how much would that cost? They don't mention that. When I was reading through it, what they do say, though, is the actual cost of a 51% attack on Bitcoin was closer to 49% of the hash rate. Therefore, contrary to established lore, LORE, it does not actually take 51% of the network's hashing power to mount a successful 51% attack, even when all actors are assumed honest. With the accidental or nefarious introduction of further latency, and I don't know exactly what they mean by latency, but it's measured in seconds or like time, milliseconds. Oh, additional network delay seconds. Okay, so latency, the hash rate can plummet. With just a few minutes of delay, a takeover threshold drops to 40%. And with less than an hour, it can be as low as 20%. All this should
Yeah,
be
but if
taken
people
in the
suddenly went an
context
hour
that
without transactions being confirmed or something like that, they would be looking into the problems being caused. They would be like, oh, it's probably not some hostile takeover.
No, okay, that's fine. I'm just saying what they're saying, and like if an hour this, and all this should be taken in the context that just 4 mining pools already control more than 50% of the hashing power. And by the way, I just want to say something.
I mean, I understand, but it's FUD. It's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. What you're talking about here, theoretically, sure, what you just said is possible, but Bitcoin going an hour with an hour delay in its transactions being confirmed. That would set off so many alarms. People around the world would be freaking out to figure out why Bitcoin was no longer working.
Right, and you also have to remember that that you mentioned the 4 mining pools control, what was it, 60% or something like that?
It says 4 mining pools control more than 51%.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, but that's not one mining pool. That's 4 of them. So I guess the suggestion is if they were all to corroborate, they could take over the network and do bad things. But the other thing you have to understand is there's a disincentive to do that, right? Like, these people don't want to kill the golden goose. They have probably millions of these pools, collectively probably have millions of dollars worth of mining equipment, because it's not cheap to mine Bitcoin. As an individual, you've got to buy a very fancy computer equipment in order to jump into this particular game. So these mining pools must have millions of dollars worth of this equipment, and they certainly don't want the price of Bitcoin to go down. Otherwise, it will lose, they'll lose their investment. And so if they take over the network and start doing dastardly things, you better believe the price of Bitcoin's going to plummet like a rock, and they are out of business.
Yeah, because people would no longer have any faith whatsoever in the utility of Bitcoin or the reliability of Bitcoin, and they would stop using it. Bitcoin would die almost instantaneously and would no longer have any value.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on this, Aria. It sounds like the federal government is trying to stoke fear, uncertainty,
fear
and doubt.
mongering, total 100%.
Yeah, so they could be. I just wanted to say that because I don't know if you guys think I'm anti-Bitcoin or crypto. I'm pro-crypto. I think it's important for us to see what they are trying to do.
No, I agree with you.
Ultimately, crypto is going to be our currency, right? It's going to be the liberty, freedom, people's currency. It might not be Bitcoin, but it'll be a cryptocurrency because it's decentralized.
No, I appreciate. No, I'm not saying that you are a critic or anything like that. I absolutely think that you're somebody who does a good amount of research into this, and you're learning about what the federal government is talking about, and you're sharing it with our audience. So I appreciate that, Mehdi. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's it. I just wanted to share that. It was an interesting paper, and they keep trying to figure out what's going on, and it's interesting that they're trying to figure out how to centralize it, and it's interesting that they have admitted they can't do it with the cryptography itself. It's decentralized, so they're trying to find all other ways to.
Yeah, they're poking for the weak spots.
Where they're trying to put the noose.
They're looking to find out where, if at all, cryptocurrencies are weak, and Bitcoin is the strongest, of course, of all of them. Thank you for the call tonight, Mehdi. It has the most mining power behind it. It has the most money, the most people that are propagating it. And, of course, this is one of the things the so-called Bitcoin maximalists will say to promote Bitcoin over other coins. They claim that because of all of the people that have invested in mining, that it is the most impervious to what he's talking about with a 51% attack, which is where someone could take over a network, a cryptocurrency network, by just simply spending enough money to to put enough miners online, essentially. And for a lot of these networks, it doesn't cost a whole lot. There was a website we found, crypto51.app, where you can go and you can actually look at what they say is the current cost of attacking one of these networks for 1 hour. And you don't have to go too far down the list before it gets to like $1,000 or less per hour to completely take over.
Yeah, some of them are even easier. I remember once upon a time I upgraded my graphics card, and the upgrade was doing something like 10% of the total all Ravencoin mining while it was activated. Maybe it was 7 to 10%. I don't remember the exact number, but I mean, it would have been super easy for someone to take over just with 5 of those gaming PCs.
What? How long ago was this?
I don't recall.
Some years.
Yeah.
I was going to say Ravencoin right now is on the list here. It's shown at just under $3,000 an hour to attack the Ravencoin network.
That's probably about right.
Which makes it one of the higher ones.
Really?
Actually, yeah. A lot of these, it's like sub $1,000.
Okay.
So,
Good on Ravencoin, then. That shows a fair bit of improvement.
Yeah, a lot of people must be mining it.
Yeah.
So check it out, crypto51.app, if you're more interested in the kind of the technical side of those things. But let's get back into the story about Pedo Peter. I do have this New York Post. They've got a report published in April of this year that says that Joe Biden wrote to his son Hunter and others close to him using the pseudonym Peter Henderson, a fictional Soviet Union-era spy in several Tom Clancy novels who infiltrated the U.S. government, according to emails.
Run this by me again. Joe Biden wrote letters to his son and signed them as Peter Henderson?
Like actual letters or at least emails?
I probably emails. The messages contained on Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop appear to indicate the then vice president started using the fictitious Moles moniker in October of 2016 while forwarding a YouTube video to his son Hunter, brother Jim, daughter-in-law Hallie, as well as his sister and longtime political strategist Valerie Biden Owens. Biden sent the message using an email address with the username of 67 Stingray, a reference to his beloved 1967 Corvette Stingray. The name attached to the Biden 67 Stingray account at the time was Peter Henderson, which matches the name of the KGB spy in Clancy's popular Jack Ryan series. So anyway, that's the story that I was referencing earlier.
I know there's no explanation, but I need an explanation. I need to know why Joe Biden at any point was writing emails to his son and signing them as Peter Henderson.
Because they were doing nefarious stuff. You don't sign Aria whenever you're trying to be sneaky. You use your alias.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I guess, man, but
that's the thing. You would think they would address that in this story, but they don't.
I mean, that's a question worth asking. Well, okay, fine. Why was Joe Biden pretending to be a KGB spy when emailing his son?
Yeah, a mole.
Yeah, what were the emails about? They don't talk about that in this story.
Because that's the meat and potatoes that they're trying to distract us from.
No doubt, Conan, but the interesting thing
they want crack
here,
and they want meth and they want the hookers.
The takeaway here, though, at the very least, if we don't, even though that we don't know what the emails were about, it is confirmed he called himself Peter. And now the allegation is
Peter.
The allegation is that Hunter refers to him as Pedo Peter in his iPhone messages.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper.
Twitter is suing Elon Musk after the Tesla owner abandoned plans to buy the social media platform for $44 billion. In a legal filing, Twitter accuses the billionaire of refusing to honour his legal obligations. As FSN's Washington correspondent Simon Marks reports.
The lawsuit was filed in Delaware. The board of Twitter says Elon Musk mounted a public spectacle by offering to buy the company, then changed his mind, trashed the company, disrupted its operations, and destroyed its value for other shareholders. They accuse him of breaking contract law and say Musk's behavior has cast a pall over Twitter and its business. This is the opening salvo in what will be a very long, expensive legal battle with, for both parties, an uncertain outcome.
A call to arms is how the January 6th committee investigating last year's attack on the US Capitol has described Donald Trump's tweets in the lead-up to the deadly assault. During the 7th, in a series of congressional hearings, lawmakers heard testimony from witnesses laying out ties between Mr. Trump and far-right extremist groups at the vanguard of the violent effort to prevent a peaceful transition of power. As FSN's Benji Hire reports from Washington.
In a mammoth 3-hour session, Jason Van Tattenhove, a former spokesperson for the Oath Keepers militia, a group he describes as dangerous, exposed how they and other rioters were radicalised by Donald Trump's rhetoric. 6 other witnesses also detailed an unhinged Oval Office meeting in December 2020, in which Trump allies clashed with White House lawyers over various plans to overturn the result of the presidential election a month prior. The committee's vice chair, Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, said then President Trump must take responsibility for inciting the mob, despite many of his close circle admitting and advising him to concede that he'd lost to Joe Biden.
In the UK, the number of candidates running for leadership of the Conservative Party, and therefore to become the Prime Minister, has been whittled down from 11 to 8. Nominations were held on Tuesday, where MPs could choose to back their preferred candidate. Business and US stocks fell on Tuesday as investors await the release of some key inflation data. And Wall Street is gearing up for earnings season to kick off, as FSN's William Densler reports from New York.
June's consumer price index figures are set to be released before the US markets open on Wednesday morning. It's a key inflation gauge and will be watched closely by both traders on Wall Street and the Federal Reserve. The Fed will be keen to see whether their decision to begin aggressively raising interest rates is starting to ease price pressures. The major US indexes fell Tuesday as investors await that inflation news. The Dow closed down 0.6%, the S&P 0.9%, and the Nasdaq dropped 1%. It was, though, a good day of trading for the airline sector. William Denslow, New York.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking for the next few days at President Biden's upcoming trip to the Middle East. He'll visit Israel and Saudi Arabia this week, both stops highly controversial for different reasons. We'll start today with Israel. When President Biden first planned the trip, he expected to meet Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, but then his coalition government collapsed, so instead the US leader will hold talks with caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid, aware that left-wing Democrats are particularly critical of the US administration's failure energetically to promote negotiations on a two-state solution to the Palestinian conflict. Stephen Cook is a senior fellow for Middle East Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations.
Biden's argument to them is going to be, I have reestablished American relations with the Palestinian Authority, which were cut off during the Trump years. All in all, however, President Biden has evinced very little interest in the two-state solution. He'll say it. He'll say that he supports the two-state solution to the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians, but he hasn't been willing to invest in that issue much.
Another issue infuriating the Palestinians and their supporters, the Biden administration's failure to confront Israel over the recent killing of Al Jazeera correspondent Shireen Abu Akleh, a US citizen. Tomorrow, how one presidential flight will make history in the region. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. Twitter is suing Elon Musk after the Tesla owner abandoned plans to buy the social media platform for $44 billion. A call to arms is how the January 6th committee investigating last year's attack on the US Capitol has described Donald Trump's tweets in the lead-up to the deadly assault. And US stocks fell on Tuesday as investors await the release of key inflation data. There's more from us on Twitter at Feature Story. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Sony released this week the Nasal HD 340s, a brand new pair of high-quality nose buds designed to let users blast different scents into their nostrils throughout the day. The Onion let consumers across the nation sound off about their excitement for the new product.
I've always got them in my nose. At work, at the gym, on the bus, wherever. These days, I can't stop smelling tennis ball.
Retailing for $49.99, the nose buds accompany the launch of Sony's new online odor store, which sells over 22,000 different smells for download and immediate inhalation. Still, not everyone is quite as enthusiastic about the new product.
These things suck. I mean, a lot of times it only works out of the right nostril. The other day I tried smelling picnic table. It smelled more like hardwood floor. And also, to be honest, I have a really hard time breathing with these things on.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here with whatever is on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. Are the Hondurans upset about the special economic zone projects that are coming to their area?
They wouldn't be the first ones. I mean, there was this ZA thing going on somewhere recently that got a lot of pushback. And
somewhere besides Honduras?
Well, it may have been the Honduras. I don't know. But there was some sort of pushback, and the ZA law got repealed.
That happened in Honduras.
Some sort of, okay.
Yeah, we'll get into that coming up here in a bit. It's gotten some mainstream media attention with The Guardian. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Aria.
And Conan.
But we are going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. You can bring up what you want. I do want to say I'm sorry to hear that apparently one of our longtime chatters on the chat server has passed away.
Wow.
Young guy, too. Apparently he drowned. And this is apparently legit. Like, because, a lot of people troll pretty hard on our server. So if somebody claims that there's a death.
What did he know about Hillary Clinton is what I want to know.
I don't know. He lived in, like, Romania or something. But according to Kevin from the internet, who is one of the admins of the Free State Project Discord, he says the same guy hung out a lot on the Free State Project Discord, and then he was a big fan of Free Talk Live. He did a lot of pretty heavy-duty trolling on our chat server, and I actually didn't even know he was. I didn't even know he listened to the show because all he ever did was troll the chat server. But apparently he was a big fan. So I want to say that I'm sorry to hear about that from. His name was Xenia, apparently. I don't know if that was his real name.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the way we know this is supposedly legit is his mother apparently reached out to Kevin on the Discord server that the Free State Project has. So it seems like it's probably for real. If it's not for real, then we'll stop announcing when people on our chat server pass away. But anyway, let's go to your phone calls. We got Olivia on the line in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I remember Xenia. That's kind of depressing to hear. Today's my birthday, so I kind of wanted to celebrate with you guys.
All right, well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. And more good news, it looks like I'm coming to New Hampshire.
Wow.
So,
congrats.
Yeah, I'm super excited, but also nervous. Like, I really want this to work out, and I really want it to last. Like, I don't want to have to move back in 3 months and disgrace. So,
yeah, it's no fun to have to tuck your tail between your legs and admit failure. I mean, it has happened to some people who've moved here without a plan and without any kind of savings or whatever. But that said, some people have moved here by the seat of their pants and they made it work. So it just all depends on the individual in that case. Have you moved before? Or are you an Arizona native who've always lived in the same place?
I've moved all over the southern half of the United States. I've never really been up north, so
okay.
I've done it before, but I always had somebody with me. So this time I'm solo.
All right.
Yep. Well, if you're
it's going to be an adventure.
Yep. If you're coming during the summertime, you'll have time to acquire clothing for the winter, because I suspect you don't have what you need if you live in Arizona.
No, probably not. So any other advice is appreciated too.
It's been very chilly this summer. Like usually when I take my dog out at 2 a.m. or whatever, I want to grab a hoodie. It's it's mid-July.
It was upper 40s a couple of days ago.
But nighttime?
Yeah, it's that's not good for garden productivity.
Yeah, my peas are dead as a result of it.
That's summertime too.
What do you guys have any advice for a new mover, somebody moving all alone to New Hampshire?
Have a plan. get a job, have a job waiting for you, or know something.
They say
jobs are easy to get.
They say it's easier to find a job when you're actually here, or at the very least, if
with an address. That's kind of something that you need to have.
Or at the very least, a phone number that starts with 603 to kind of show people that you're really from around here.
Have a little bit of savings.
But I got to say, there's no better time to find a job in New Hampshire than right now, as far as, you could literally go down this main street in Keene, New Hampshire, and I don't know if it's every building has a help wanted sign, but it's certainly a lot of them.
I mean, there's a business that I know the people there that's opening next month or whatever, and they're going to need a staff. So
when I first moved, not moved, but when I first came up to visit, and I basically spent a whole week just driving around looking at all the little towns. And Keene's very pretty. It's got its liberals, but it's a very pretty town, and it's close to a lot of things. But no, I lived in my truck for a whole month.
Wow!
During the summer, though, right?
Yeah.
No, I moved here my first visit was in January, March, May, so it was still cold.
Okay, well, chilly.
It's survivable.
But the first thing I did was I got a membership at the YMCA. So I had shower. So I had shower options, and I was working out because I had lots of time on my hands too. But a lot of that month was just finding a place that I wanted to move into, not something that it was forced upon me because I was desperate. And of course, I just transferred. I was working at Walmart at the time, so I just transferred Walmarts.
Right, that makes it easy.
And the only problem that I had is I thought I was going to buy a house right off the bat, but I've always been a part-time guy. And banks don't like giving loans to people who have part-time jobs. And I'm like, dude, look at my credit rating and look at my money saved. I had the money. I'm good for it.
They don't care about that, though.
And they're like, no, you got to be full-time. So I immediately switched over to full-time at my job. And the bank gave me a loan like a month later, and I bought a house. So
very cool.
But that was in 2012. You're not the last thing in the world you're going to be doing these days, unless you're jacked, is buying a home. And rent has gone up too.
I don't think Olivia's looking into buying a home right now, though.
But I mean, the living in your car, it could be an option until you find something that you really, really like.
As I understand it, I've heard that Olivia has a line on a place to stay. That said, that may not be public information, so I won't say anything more about that. Olivia, anything else you want to ask or share in this case?
I have been applying to jobs. One seemed pretty promising in Marlboro, but I haven't heard back from them. That's the only problem. Like, you send your resume like they ask, and then you don't hear back from them. And also, I just don't want to have to move back in 3 months. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When are you moving up?
August.
Ooh,
okay, so very soon.
Yeah, but you're cutting it. Well, how many more months is that?
To what?
To August? That's
June,
next
July,
month.
August.
That's 2
Holy
weeks.
crap!
2.5 weeks. It's going to be August.
We're summertime, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right. That's why your peas are dying, by the way, Arya. Summer.
Yeah.
It's summer.
Yeah, it is. It's officially summer too, because I've been cutting off my AC and raising up my windows, at night for the last month and a half or whatever, and it's been just fine.
Even installed my AC this year.
Right, it's been just
chill.
fine.
It's so chill.
But last night was last night the AC came back on.
I want to get back to Olivia's job situation here, because given the desperation that we've heard from so many business owners,
you could just walk into any place in Keene. If you want to be, if it's like restaurant or whatnot, I mean, yeah, you can just walk in.
I can't believe that you're not getting any kind of contacts back, Olivia. But the old situation with getting a job is the people that, back when it used to be a competitive to get a job, now they claim that no one's applying, that it's hard to even find people who want to work. At least that's what I've heard over the last several months. Maybe that situation's starting to change and I'm not aware of it, right? Because I'm not out there looking for it.
You know what happened? People just retired. We've been talking about this for years. There's the retirement. The baby boomers are retiring.
It's so much simpler than this.
And when COVID happened, a lot of these baby boomers that weren't going to retire in this year, but maybe a couple years from now, they're just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm retiring now.
I mean, the explanation for, we have a troll over there in the YouTube chat saying employers never call people back. No, look, you're being ridiculous, right? When you go to try to find a date, you don't ask one girl and they go, that's it. I played my hands. Now I just have to wait on this girl to call me back.
There
That's
are
not how this
no more
works.
fish in the sea.
You apply to multiple jobs. One of them will call you back. One of them will hire you. You don't just put in one application and go, boy, I hope they actually call back. That's not the way anything in the real world works. And jobs are no different.
It certainly
sure, maybe McDonald's looks at your resume and they go, no, this person's not going to work. But, the Vietnamese restaurant or Cumbies or whatever looks at it and goes, yeah, this person would be a good fit.
Right, but you got to put it out there on a multitude of occasions. And that said, it never hurts to follow up. I mean, it never hurts to if
Also
there's one
true.
in particular that you want more than the others, is to call back after a week or whatever. I don't know what the optimal time frame is. You don't want to be a pest, but at the same time, you want to let them know that you've, the squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of thing,
Yep.
right? Like that you're out there and that you're still interested.
And always send a thank you note after that interview. Always.
Yeah, if you get to the interview, right? She may not have gotten to that point. And I don't know. I mean, Olivia, you call from an Arizona number, and it could be that they're just marking you off the list because you don't live here
I think
yet.
you're a telemarketer, maybe.
So that may be an option as well. I wish you the best. Thanks for the call tonight. Definitely appreciate hearing from you. And like Aria says, you put it out there enough to enough places that are looking to hire, somebody's going to call you back. I think even if you do have an Arizona number, I think you might get a call back. But if you
I had a Memphis number.
If you can get a cell phone number with a 603 area code, might help you a little bit. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com. There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
Before we get into this Honduras situation, I did find the story about Joe Biden and what he said about one of the things that he has said about black people. Apparently, he also said it about Hispanics. And again, this is in the context of Jill Biden's recent gaffe calling Hispanics or likening them to the variety of breakfast tacos available in San Antonio. I said, if it was just a one-off, it would be a little more excusable. But when you look at what her husband has said about blacks and apparently Hispanics, then it might show a trend. And
this is how elites think about the little people.
The others.
The others. The people.
I really wish in that clip of Hillary Clinton, she had pulled out a slice of watermelon and dumped hot sauce on it and just started eating it. That's the only thing that could have made it better.
She is from the South.
Yeah.
So I'm sure.
No, she's not. Isn't she from New York?
She's from Georgia.
Bill Clinton's from the South. He's from Arkansas.
Ooh. All right. Hold on. I didn't realize that. So, yeah.
I don't know about Hillary.
Yeah, I don't know where she's originally
from. I thought they were cousins.
Hillary's okay. I'm glad you started laughing because I was like, Hillary's his wife, dude. I see what you're saying now, though.
So I'm on a website called Remezcla, which is a Latin-operated, looks like a pop culture site of some sort. Anyway, this is their report. Yolanda Machado reporting that President Joe Biden gave a town hall as president. This was back in 2021 in February. And then he made a pretty big faux pas, as they point out here. The town hall took place in Milwaukee, and a local doctor asked why, out of all the vaccines administered, only 3% of black people and 5% of Latinos had received the vaccine, despite being two of the communities hardest hit.
Because they know better. They know history.
They know the history of the government using them for experiments, you mean?
Exactly.
Biden's response was two parts. First, after he reminded the doctor of why the black and Latino communities are distrusting of vaccines, being that black people were used as, quote, guinea pigs in other experiments, unquote, for far too long in our history, Biden also addressed the lack of walk-up vaccine centers for marginalized communities who don't have access to cars. He plans on blah, blah, blah. So he answered that part. But then it says where the next part is where he fumbled. Quote,
all of that's a fumble. The fact is that they don't even need cars to get vaccines. If you just went out into public during the height of the COVID-19 vaccination thing that we went through, you would have been offered a vaccine. The signs were everywhere. CVS, Walmart, everywhere you went.
Multiple setups all over town here.
But here's what he said after that. Quote, not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccination at the Walgreens or at that particular store.
This is how progressives see minorities. They can't figure out how to use the internet, how to get to the the DVD, the whatever, the driver's place to get their card, to get their driver's license. They look down on these people because they're tone deaf, they're out of touch, and they feel like they're above.
Sure.
And by the way, Hillary's from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
But it is worth pointing out again that Jill Biden's reference to tacos was talking to Hispanic people. She was actually not trying to be racist or not. It wasn't racist at all. It's just an inability to read the crowd. Just like you wouldn't speak to, the NAACP or whatever and start talking about how much you love fried chicken, you don't stand in front of a room.
Hillary would.
I know, but you don't.
But I do love fried chicken.
And she didn't become president.
And I like watermelon.
Yeah, me too. I was eating watermelon today.
Yes, but you don't do that, and you don't stand in front of a room of Hispanics and talk about how much you love tacos or whatever. This is no.
Actually, Trump did. What was the whole Taco Bell?
Well, I don't think it would be offensive to say that you love eating their food.
But
or
you don't
whatever,
focus on that, right? You don't go, man, it's so great to be in front of all of these wonderful people who brought me the gift of tacos.
Yeah, that's true.
I would.
It was,
but I'm not an elite.
You're a troll as well, though. So
I'm not that. Not like the trolls in our troll room.
You can join that troll room over at chat.freetalklive.com. All right, so yeah, these politicians are so disconnected from average people. They don't have any idea what it's like to be a normal person. And you mentioned Hillary in another classic clip of hers, and I don't remember if it was the Trump campaign or when this was, but she was brought into somebody's apartment in New York City or somewhere where they have very small, apartments.
Yeah, they live in cubes.
And the look on her face was just so shocked.
I don't remember this one.
I have not seen it.
Because it was so small, or because it was all.
She couldn't understand that people
live
live
like
this
that
way, right? And she also is known for never having driven a car in her life, as well. Yeah, she's that disconnected from what it's like to be a real person. So that's why they have, during campaigns, they have all these campaign events that are designed to try to humanize these people, because they are not like the rest of us at all. They're so privileged and so special.
Going your whole life without driving a car, though, that's beyond your average Hunter Biden or Donald Trump level of special.
That's what I've heard. Maybe it's not true, right? That's what I've heard. She's just that disconnected. But she's not alone, right? Like, that's why they put Joe Biden in an ice cream shop or whatever, and he talks about how he has, ice cream with his grandchildren or whatever, because they want to humanize him. They don't want him to be seen as the monster who passed the 1994 crime bill and put a bunch of people just like his son behind bars for the rest of their lives. They don't want people remembering that stuff.
I thought the ice cream was to cool his brain down because it's overheating. It's running full speed ahead at all times.
Meanwhile, they criticized Donald Trump for getting a bunch of McDonald's delivered to the White House. I mean, that's the most normalized thing he could have done.
And that taco bowl he had in the one meme.
I don't know. I don't remember that one.
Bowl?
He had a taco bowl, and he was displaying it for everyone to see. I don't remember.
A Chipotle kind of thing, like a taco, like you're eating.
Donald Trump strikes me as the kind of guy who does like McDonald's, though. Like he seems like he likes his quarter pounders or whatever.
The dude is a germaphobe, though.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't know why. I would, if I was that way, I would never buy anything from a fast food restaurant. I would only buy from established restaurants that I knew were clean.
Well, for a germaphobe, it only matters if they see the other person touching it, right?
Yeah, maybe that's the truth.
Phones are open if you want to join in here, 603-283-6160. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll see even more Biden gaffes until they decide to kick him out of office or whatever ends up happening to him. Because, again, we're not even 2 years into this thing at this point. And already so much has happened. Apparently, his approval rating is now scraping Donald Trump's record low.
He's going to be down to Congress level pretty soon. Happy Cinco de Mayo. The best taco bowls are made in Trump Tower Grill. I love Hispanics.
Really?
See, but we know when Trump does it that he's like, he is tone deaf, and he doesn't care if it comes off as sounding, dude, that's one of the most racist things I've ever heard a president tweet.
I think he is seriously sincere on
but
this
that's
one.
Not a racist statement.
He's there with he's with a big ass taco bowl, and he's got a big old, eating grin on his face.
It's not racist, no, but it's like,
only racist if, maybe under the new definition.
He knew what he was doing, though.
Yeah,
right. That's my point.
New racism is just identifying stereotypes.
Yeah. But real racism is believing that one race is superior to another. And that statement has none of that. I also love tacos. And I prefer them.
I love taco bowls.
And I prefer them in Mexico. Because it's just better.
Authentic.
They're cheaper and they're better. Authentico. More coming up here in moments. You can join us, 603-283-6160. But some people want you to move to Honduras. We'll talk about it coming up. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Twitter is suing Elon Musk after the Tesla owner abandoned plans to buy the social media platform for $44 billion. In a legal filing, Twitter accuses the billionaire of refusing to honor his legal obligations. As FSN's Washington correspondent Simon Marks reports.
The lawsuit was filed in Delaware. The board of Twitter says Elon Musk mounted a public spectacle by offering to buy the company, then changed his mind, trashed the company, disrupted its operations, and destroyed its value for other shareholders. They accuse him of breaking contract law and say Musk's behavior has cast a pall over Twitter and its business. This is the opening salvo in what will be a very long, expensive legal battle with, for both parties, an uncertain outcome.
A call to arms is how the January 6th committee investigating last year's attack on the US Capitol has described Donald Trump's tweets in the lead-up to the deadly assault. During the 7th, in a series of congressional hearings, lawmakers heard testimony from witnesses laying out ties between Mr. Trump and far-right extremist groups at the vanguard of the violent effort to prevent a peaceful transition of power. As FSN's Benji Hire reports from Washington.
In a mammoth 3-hour session, Jason Van Tattenhove, a former spokesperson for the Oath Keepers militia, a group he describes as dangerous, exposed how they and other rioters were radicalised by Donald Trump's rhetoric. 6 other witnesses also detailed an unhinged Oval Office meeting in December 2020, in which Trump allies clashed with White House lawyers over various plans to overturn the result of the presidential election a month prior. The committee's vice chair, Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, said then President Trump must take responsibility for inciting the mob, despite many of his close circle admitting and advising him to concede that he'd lost to Joe Biden.
In the UK, the number of candidates running for leadership of the Conservative Party, and therefore to become the Prime Minister, has been whittled down from 11 to 8. Nominations were held on Tuesday, where MPs could choose to back their preferred candidate. Business and US stocks fell on Tuesday as investors await the release of some key inflation data, and Wall Street is gearing up for earnings season to kick off, as FSN's William Densler reports from New York.
June's Consumer Price Index figures are set to be released before the US markets open on Wednesday morning. It's a key inflation gauge and will be watched closely by both traders on Wall Street and the Federal Reserve. The Fed will be keen to see whether their decision to begin aggressively raising interest rates is starting to ease price pressures. The major US indexes fell Tuesday as investors await that inflation news. The Dow closed down 0.6%, the S&P 0.9%, and the Nasdaq dropped 1%. It was, though, a good day of trading for the airline sector. William Denslow, New York.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
Don't forget you can join us online over at freetalklive.com. Many features await you there, including the AMPS program. Joseph Shull is a Free Talk Live Silver Amplifier, meaning Joseph is contributing to AMPS, which you can join over at amps.freetalklive.com. It stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. It's a way for you to help us get the ideas of freedom onto more great radio stations around the country. If you like what we do here, for $5 a month, you can help us do more of it. Just go to amps.freetalklive.com. You can join our Patreon there. That's amps.freetalklive.com. So Our co-host Mark Edge has been promoting this Honduran ZA concept. ZA is short for Special Economic Zone or something like that. There's a Spanish version of it, and that's what it's actually short for. But that's what it means, Special Economic Zone. And he's been kind of going around the whole world looking at these different special economic zone projects, many of which are sort of still being in the creation stage. They're in the idea stage, or they're just buying the property stage, or cutting a deal with governments. But basically the idea behind these things is that some sort of private organization comes to a government that is generally not as successful or wealthy as the United States, and they say, hey, here's a big plot of land that you have that no one's using. How about we buy that plot of land, and then we build all kinds of businesses and whatever on that plot of land, but you guys don't put your regulations on us that you would normally put on businesses in your country, and we'll give people jobs, because we're going to need to hire people. So we'll give some local people some jobs, and it'll be an economic boom for your economy. And even though there won't be the same taxes, if any taxes, it'll get people work.
This is what central planners do. They create these incentives for attracting people. We have one here in Keene, the downtown district, which is a special walled off area where all the money stays in that district and it doesn't go anywhere else.
Well, that's a bit different from, if you had a status trying to create one of these ZAs, that would certainly be the result, right? But these ZAs aren't necessarily central planning.
The Hondurans are going to be paying for this. They're going to be special incentives that stay in this one little zone, and how
are the Hondurans paying for this?
The taxpayers.
How?
Through their city. Their city is they're going to be focusing attention and development.
No, the city's supposedly not involved in this. So the idea is they're going to be buying a plot of land that no one's using. It's kind of out in the woods, so to speak, or in this case, the one we're going to talk about.
The one I saw was right in the middle. Oh, okay, well, a couple of months ago when Mark was on, I was looking at one of these zones, and it was right in the middle of one of these cities, Honduran cities.
I've never heard of that one. Whatever that one is, I don't know what it is. There was
Mark, call in and tell me what we were talking about.
There was one in Honduras.
I saw it on the Google Maps, and it looked like just a regular.
There's one in Honduras called Morazan.city. I think that's one you're talking about.
But there's nothing there yet.
No. They've built things. Yeah, there's some people living there, but it's out on the outskirts of a city. It's not right in the midst of a city. So anyway, generally the idea, as I understand it, Conan, is they buy a plot of land that no one's using for anything. It's out in the middle of the woods or somewhere that's not immediately in the middle of a city. It would not require city municipal services. They're going to do their own thing for water, do their own thing for to kind of take care of themselves.
What's this new one called?
Idea. The one that I think you're referring to is more. The island is called Prospera.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list of them, and I think the Morazan was in fact the one that I was looking at before.
Morazan is the one that's inland. The Prospera is the one on the island.
By the way, I like that name.
It's a great name.
I'm already down with that.
And it's an interesting concept. Unfortunately, my first objection when I first heard Mark getting into this, because he's been promoting these concepts for half a decade, I think at this point. My first objection was, how can you trust a government?
That was literally my first response as well. It's like, okay, this is great. But what government has ever kept its word on these sorts of things?
As soon as they start doing well for themselves,
they're going to come in and take it.
Some new government, it might be this one, might be one 20 years from now. It's like, hey, you know what? Why are we letting these guys get away living high like they are?
Right.
Or as we saw in Florida, they will allow it as long as you sing the song they want you to sing.
Or they will say to themselves, well, they paid us $1 million up front. They probably have $2 million now, and they'll come in and they'll demand more in order to leave you alone. And then you're just paying another form of property taxes.
Unless these Zetas have some real good security. And I know
good enough to keep the government out?
When it comes to South America, you better believe it. When I was in Honduras, the banks with the ATMs that were doing well, they had dudes out with shotguns.
Yeah,
dudes in plain, not military clothing, not police clothing. These were private agents with shotguns. It was Tegucigalpa, Honduras. That was a wild.
What were you doing down there?
It was a military exercise. 2 months. Only time I've ever been out of America. But
how long? 2 months.
2 months. Yeah, it was pretty good learning experience actually.
So the thing is, They didn't even give them more than a handful of years before they swooped in and changed the game. The Honduran government gang decided to undo the ZA situation. They undid whatever the law is. Now, it isn't completely undone, but they voted unanimously to undo this thing just a few months ago. We covered it here on Free Talk Live. Mark called in saying, well, it's not over yet because they're going to have to re-vote next year. But it's like, well, if they unanimously voted this year, the odds that they're going to all of a sudden be split, in 1 year's time seems pretty slim. But it isn't over yet.
It reminds me of the Croydon thing, actually, which happened here in New Hampshire, where a Free Stater got, the school board to slash the budget by half or something like that.
He got the people of a town who were attending the town meeting to slash the budget. The school
and it
board
was
would
all
never
very successful until everyone else
broke
found
the law.
No, never mind that. Everyone else found out what this person was doing, and they said, no, we're not allowing that. And then something like 300 to 2 was the result when they did the other.
They broke the law and had another vote.
They write the law. It doesn't matter if they break it.
They followed the law. They called for a special election.
Yeah, they're the ones who wrote the law, man. It doesn't matter.
That might actually be true.
And it's the same thing here. They got this little ZA law passed, and they're like, hey, look, guys, we did it. We had our libertarian success story, and people found out about it. And they came out in mass and voted unanimously to undo it.
By the way, the wiki claims the 3 existing Zetas are grandfathered in for the next 50 years.
We'll see.
We'll see. So Prospera,
they're going to be fighting it out in court.
Morazan, and Orquídea.
It sounds like they're going to be fighting it out in court over these things happening. But let's get into the story, because now the mainstream media has gotten wind of this, and they are on the attack.
Of course they are. They don't want people leaving the plantation.
The Guardian.
And going to start their new utopia.
And I mean, just as a realistic point of view here, if I was a white person trying to do this, I would be worried that the same thing was going to happen to me that the Americans did to the Native Americans, and just not keep their word. They're going like, hey, look, hey, gringo, remember that time you genocided all of the Native Americans and shoved them off into reservations and then told them you'd leave them alone and didn't? Guess what? Now it's our turn to do that to you.
Well, I don't know that they would use that premise. They would just do it.
Sure.
Hey, we like your stuff. We're coming in.
Right.
Here's a story from The Guardian's Jeff Ernst reporting from Crawfish Rock. Straight ahead of Wilford Webster's hilltop home, waves break over the turquoise waters that surround the reefs offshore. Look at this, he said, his arms framing the panorama. Who wouldn't want this? To the left is the community of crayfish. Is it crawfish or crayfish?
I've always heard crawfish.
Okay,
if you're south, it's crawfish.
Yeah, okay, Crawfish Rock. A few hundred people of mostly English-speaking Black Caribbean descent who live in raised wood-slat homes on ancestral land. To the right, there's a security booth with cameras, a gate, and a guard. Just beyond that, a prototype residence and the headquarters of a controversial startup city sit amidst a landscape scarred by a bulldozer and deep holes dug for the foundation of the next phase of construction.
Man, initially, I was like, calling this colonization is not helping the matter. But as you read that paragraph, yeah, it sounds exactly like colonizing. You got these native-born people here and this white guy looking around going, who wouldn't want all of this? Well, all of this belongs to the people who are already there, dude.
I disagree. It's the same difference between civil war versus revolution. It depends on who's doing. Governments colonize. Single individuals don't colonize. They go camping.
We got more coming up here. The number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. This Wilford guy, though, I don't know if he's a white dude. He's apparently against the Prospera thing. We'll find out more coming up. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. Bring in whatever you want. 603-283-6160 is the number. That's 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
I'm guessing you can still get tickets because we haven't been told otherwise to the upcoming Freedom Fest, but it starts tomorrow. So if you're not already heading to Vegas, it's probably getting close to being too late to get these tickets online. I don't know for how long the code FTL50 is going to work, but you can try it and see if you
took it off the schedule after today, so after today, I'm confident it will still work today.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but, you know.
I'm confident, not certain.
Okay. You can try it out, see if it works. If it does work, then you'll get $50 off. If not, well, you show up and get whatever you get as far as at-the-door prices. FreedomFest.com, because a lot of times when you're putting together a big event like this, they cut off the online sales a few days beforehand so they can do things like print the name badges and stuff like that.
Okay.
But Freedom Fest is happening in the Mirage in Las Vegas. Our very own Mark Edge is going to be there speaking about locating liberty, where I guarantee you he's going to be talking about Honduras and the special economic zone. So you might want to hit him with your questions if you're going to be attending that event.
Just go troll him. You have my support. Just go troll the guy. He needs it.
Right. He's not on the air with us enough. so he definitely needs it. Freedomfest.com, code FTL50 gets you $50 off, maybe. It might be a little bit too late for that. Freedom Fest is a huge event. There are probably going to be a few thousand folks there, maybe at least 2,000 people. Tends to be the typical attendance there. So it's one of the biggest events for liberty out there. The conference theme this year is Turning the Tide. In addition to our very own Mark Edge, you'll be able to see even bigger names like John Cleese, Ben Stein, Steve Forbes, Senator Rand Paul, Glenn Beck, Spike Cohen, Justin Amash, and others. You can go to freedomfest.com to learn more about the event. It kicks off tomorrow and it goes through the 16th. It's a 4-day-long event, so check it out, freedomfest.com. So we're talking about the Honduras, one of the Honduras projects. This one's on an island called Roatan. And it's a very interesting place. I mean, Mark went there a few years ago to check this thing out. He ultimately, I think, had some sort of a disagreement with the person who was putting this Prospera ZA Special Economic Zone thing together. So he ultimately decided not to join the Prospera project. And then he found this other one in the mainland called Morazan.city. And since then, Mark has kind of, I don't know if he's doing his own thing now.
I think he's doing his own thing now.
I think he is, but it's too late to become a ZA because they're canceling that program. So I'm not sure exactly what the legal status of whatever it is.
Unless they can get it unappealed.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, it's still a developing situation, but now the mainstream media is jumping on board and they are on the attack against Prospera, which is kind of interesting. It's almost like they're kicking them when they're down in this case because, this thing's under threat now at this point with the Honduras government undoing the Special Economic Zone program. They're going to be having to fight this thing out in court. But anyway, the point of this story is to basically badmouth this project and show people on the island who don't like them, and they don't bother to show anybody that likes them. So it's a slanted piece, but I'll share the rest of it with you here. So we're talking about Crawfish Rock, which is a community of a few hundred people of mostly English-speaking Black Caribbean descent who live in wood-slat homes raised on ancestral land there on the island. And that's one of the interesting things about Roatan is it's an primarily English-speaking place. And that's because there's been a lot of expats that have moved there. There's a lot of tourism that goes there.
Like Jamaica then, right?
It's off the coast of Honduras, and so it's not like it's part of Honduras, but not really.
Okay.
And it's sort of out there, and it's a totally different place.
By the way, crawfish, crayfish, same thing.
I knew it was the same thing, just I'm not sure about the pronunciation.
Southerners say crawfish.
Where's it? Who says crayfish?
People from outside of the southern south.
Okay, but people who are wrong say crayfish. Got it.
So they talk about this guy named Wilford Webster, and he's bragging about the beauty of the area, and then they describe that to the right of his property is a security booth and a prototype residence for this project. Perched on an incline where the road splits the countryside as much as the community, Webster's home on the island of Roatan is at the center of a battle over land rights and sovereignty that has galvanized Honduras. It's also symptomatic of a broader phenomenon throughout the region where foreigners, often cryptocurrency enthusiasts, libertarians, or both, have flocked in recent years, supporting controversial projects such as the proposed Bitcoin City in El Salvador, threatening to displace local residents and drawing comparisons to colonialists.
It's crypto gentrification.
It sort of is, but to my knowledge, none of these libertarian or crypto projects have made any effort or any desire or any attempt to displace locals.
I don't think that's what they want to do. No.
They go to places where there aren't locals, where they're going to be left alone because
according to this, there's 100 people in Roatan.
This is not Roatan's got like 20,000. This is like a village or something.
Oh.
They're called Crawfish Rock.
But they're not trying to displace those people. They're not trying to kick them out.
No, I think a lot of them want to hire them.
How many people are on the island?
20,000? About 20,000.
So how are a couple crypto nuts going to displace that many people?
If you got enough money? I mean,
I think a lot of them, the supposed plan is to hire the natives.
I suspect it is, yeah. I think it's incorrect to say they want to displace the natives.
But there are obviously going to be people who don't feel good about invaders, right, that are upset about the colonizers in the same way that the Democrats are mad about the Free Staters here in New Hampshire.
Or anyone who attacks your sacred schools. The left hates when it comes to school choice.
But that's the thing.
It's the same kind of argument. You have these people who are trying to take the money from the system and put their kids in church school.
But the difference here is this isn't a movement. The Prospera thing isn't a movement to change the system. The Prospera thing seems to be a movement of leaving the system, of getting out from under it. Let the people have their system, basically. The idea of the ZA is you guys have your system over there and just leave us alone here on this plot of land and we'll do good things and hire people. That seems to be the pitch, but of course some people don't like it. So Webster, the man they're interviewing, says he has a message for the ones who moved in next door. Go home. When the new Honduran government repealed...
But see, that's not his property, so he doesn't get to do that.
Well, he can try to make it uncomfortable for them.
It's the same thing with the anti-free staters. I'm living on my property. Why do they hate me? And they can't tell me what to do.
They hate you because you want to change the system. You and the other free staters.
By leaving other people alone.
But in order to do that, you have to take control of the halls of power and then repeal government programs. And they feel like if you repeal those government programs, then everything is going to be a disaster.
There goes their safety net.
Yeah. I mean, they literally had signs at the protest this weekend saying that free staters want to abolish ambulance service.
No, we don't.
No, what was amazing is that Keene doesn't even have a public ambulance service. It was a private one.
No, it has both.
It has both,
and the private one just got bought by the county. So
I was aware of that, but before that,
that's been in the works for years and years. They claim there's all these problems and
but disregarding that recent history, Keene was proof that you could in fact have a private ambulance service.
I think the only reason it sold was because they wanted to retire or something like that. So. Yeah, there's that's the truth, and I'm sure I'm sure Keene's not the only town that has private ambulance service.
And I don't even want to get rid of your ambulance service. I want to know why, if I go home tonight and I start choking or whatever, and I need to ride to the hospital, why the hell is that ambulance service going to cost me $1,200 to ride, 2.5 miles from my house to the hospital? Because that's what these hospital bills run. No, screw your ambulance service. I will get an Uber, thank you, and it'll cost me $12.
Yep.
That's the ambulance service I want.
But that's not just Keene.
And it'll probably get there faster.
Probably.
That is the medical...
I know, and that's what they're trying to save. They want to save those $1,200 ambulance bills or whatever. I'm like, no, screw that. Get an Uber. Allow your people...
You know what the county should do? The county should hire Uber to act as their ambulance guys.
The only issue with that is that then you don't have the siren and all of that. And really, what we just need to have a little bit of understanding. If someone's flying down the road at 90 miles per hour, they've got their hazards on and everything. You should just assume on a human level that there's probably something urgent going on.
Well, if we actually had a free market in healthcare, then we'd probably have multiple private services, and the price of ambulance service would go down as a result of that. But,
same thing with the fire department. Same thing with the police.
Back to Honduras. So when the new Honduran government repealed a pair of laws in late April that had allowed for the creation of semi-autonomous zones called a ZA, it sent a similar message. But investors in the ZA on Roatan, known as Honduras Prospera, have challenged the move. When investing in Honduras, Honduras Prospera Incorporated relied on specific legal stability guarantees from Honduras' government that the rights and authorities provided by the ZA legal framework would remain in effect as to Prospera for many decades, wrote investors in a statement published in May, adding that they expect, quote, Honduras to respect its commitments under legal stability agreements and international treaties, unquote.
Yeah, I've heard that before. The idea was that, they have to hold it or they're going to have to take it before the international court. Okay, you're going to sue the state and get other states to be the judges on this. Good job. Good luck with that.
And I've heard this claim as well, and I understand there's probably some lawyer who says that to these people, but judging by my brief, research into the international court, the only people who can bring cases to the international court are states. And those states have to be members of the international court. And Honduras is one of them, but you can't take Honduras to the international court. Only other states, other nations can take Honduras to the courts. I don't know how they're going to pull this thing off. There's more coming up here, though, on Hour 3 on the way.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.com. toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Twitter is suing Elon Musk after the Tesla owner abandoned plans to buy the social media platform for $44 billion. In a legal filing, Twitter accuses the billionaire of refusing to honour his legal obligations. As FSN's Washington correspondent Simon Marks reports.
The lawsuit was filed in Delaware. The board of Twitter says Elon Musk mounted a public spectacle by offering to buy the company, then changed his mind, trashed the company, disrupted its operations, and destroyed its value for other shareholders. They accuse him of breaking contract law and say Musk's behavior has cast a pall over Twitter and its business. This is the opening salvo in what will be a very long, expensive legal battle with, for both parties, an uncertain outcome.
A call to arms is how the January 6th committee investigating last year's attack on the US Capitol has described Donald Trump's tweets in the lead-up to the deadly assault. During the 7th, in a series of congressional hearings, lawmakers heard testimony from witnesses laying out ties between Mr. Trump and far-right extremist groups at the vanguard of the violent effort to prevent a peaceful transition of power. As FSN's Benji Hire reports from Washington.
In a mammoth 3-hour session, Jason Van Tattenhove, a former spokesperson for the Oath Keepers militia, a group he describes as dangerous, exposed how they and other rioters were radicalised by Donald Trump's rhetoric. 6 other witnesses also detailed an unhinged Oval Office meeting in December 2020, in which Trump allies clashed with White House lawyers over various plans to overturn the result of the presidential election a month prior. The committee's vice chair, Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, said then President Trump must take responsibility for inciting the mob, despite many of his close circle admitting and advising him to concede that he'd lost to Joe Biden.
In the UK, the number of candidates running for leadership of the Conservative Party, and therefore to become the Prime Minister, has been whittled down from 11 to 8. Nominations were held on Tuesday, where MPs could choose to back their preferred candidate. Business and US stocks fell on Tuesday as investors await the release of some key inflation data, and Wall Street is gearing up for earnings season to kick off, as FSN's William Densler reports from New York.
June's consumer price index figures are set to be released before the US markets open on Wednesday morning. It's a key inflation gauge and will be watched closely by both traders on Wall Street and the Federal Reserve. The Fed will be keen to see whether their decision to begin aggressively raising interest rates is starting to ease price pressures. The major US indexes fell Tuesday as investors await that inflation news. The Dow closed down 0.6%, the S&P 0.9%, and the Nasdaq dropped 1%. It was, though, a good day of trading for the airline sector. William Denslow, New York.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking for the next few days at President Biden's upcoming trip to the Middle East. He'll visit Israel and Saudi Arabia this week, both stops highly controversial for different reasons. We'll start today with Israel. When President Biden first planned the trip, he expected to meet Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, but then his coalition government collapsed, so instead the US leader will hold talks with caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid, aware that left-wing Democrats are particularly repeatedly critical of the US administration's failure energetically to promote negotiations on a two-state solution to the Palestinian conflict. Stephen Cook is a senior fellow for Middle East Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations.
Biden's argument to them is going to be, I have reestablished American relations with the Palestinian Authority, which were cut off during the Trump years. All in all, however, President Biden has evinced very little interest in the two-state solution. He'll say it. He'll say that he supports the two-state solution to the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians, but he hasn't been willing to invest in that issue much.
Another issue infuriating the Palestinians and their supporters, the Biden administration's failure to confront Israel over the recent killing of Al Jazeera correspondent Shireen Abu Akleh, a U.S. citizen. Tomorrow, how one presidential flight will make history in the region. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. Twitter is suing Elon Musk after the Tesla owner abandoned plans to buy the social media platform for $44 billion. A call to arms is how the January 6th committee investigating last year's attack on the US Capitol has described Donald Trump's tweets in the lead-up to the deadly assault. And US stocks fell on Tuesday as investors await the release of key inflation data. There's more from us on Twitter at Feature Story. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
The Supreme Court's sidekick, Kid Justice, is killed by mad genius Dr. Contempto. Thousands of elderly Japanese Americans are rounded up for an internment camp's 70th reunion. And a report confirms the habitat of Bengal tigers is now down to a studio apartment in Jaipur, India. As it was once prophesied in the weekly news recap videos of old, here now it emerges before your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Local man Matthew Hunker announced this week that he has such strong brand loyalty to Mazda that he's willing to kill for the Japanese car brand. Hunker told reporters that if he hears anyone say anything negative about Mazda's cutting-edge features, or if anyone places any other car brand above the award-winning line of 2013 Mazdas, he will, quote, personally beat them to death.
You think I wouldn't slit your goddamn throat in the name of Mazda? You think I'm f***ing around? Go ahead, say something bad about the top-rated Mazda 6, or the award-winning CX-5. See what f***ing happens. I f***ing dare you. You think I'm afraid to go to jail?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here and bring up what you want. The number is 603-283-6160. Kicking off the third hour of the program. We're getting into what is clearly a hit piece against one of the more, I guess, noteworthy special economic zones that's being developed as we speak in Honduras on an island called Roatan. That is called Prospera. And this is something that Mark Edge, our co-host, had once upon a time checked out. I think it was before they'd even broken ground on this place was when Mark went down there to meet these folks. And I guess they had some sort of a vision, difference in vision or whatever. I don't know what the disagreement was. But for whatever reason, Mark chose to not join this particular project. But they've been making progress, apparently. And so now somebody in the mainstream media is mad about that. His name is Jeff Ernst, who's reporting for The Guardian. And I just came across that apparently the Prospera folks have a response, a series of tweets that they posted to call out the lies and the misinformation that was put in this Guardian story that we're sharing with you here tonight. By the way, it is Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
So I'm going to go through some of the responses here as we go through the story. And so one of the points that Prospera makes is that right out in the beginning of the article, they describe their development as scarred by a bulldozer, which of course is an intentional choice of language meant to carry a negative connotation. Prospera says that their Twitter account is @ProsperaGlobal. They say, but realize what he's describing negatively. We're building low-cost housing available to any islanders on an island afflicted by surging real estate prices and low average incomes. Would Jeff prefer no development for poor Hondurans? So that's what they say.
That's fair, but why?
It's the same argument with these lefties who defend the school system. It's falling through the cracks. Their kids are falling through the cracks, and yet they're like, just throw more money at it. Mm-hmm. But the whole idea of pulling your kids out and homeschooling or taking them to private schools or any other option like no school it drives these people insane.
That's looking at it from the wrong point of view. As you mentioned earlier, they're gentrifying this area. That's what's causing the price of real estate to go up in the first place. That's what's
the Prospera people. No,
what is pricing the Hondurans out of their ancestral lands that they were talking about a little while ago?
Are they being priced out like the Silicon Valley?
Well, that's
people,
what the Prospera
way.
people are saying, and I would guess, without knowing intimately the situation, that a bunch of expats moving to this island, a bunch of English-speaking rich expats coming there, is pushing the price of housing up over however many decades that's been going on.
Wouldn't those expats be like people from Prospera, though?
No, expats from the United States and other countries.
Isn't that what Prospera is, or like expats?
By the way, this has been happening in New Zealand for decades. Where's the outrage there?
You mean expats moving to New Zealand?
People moving to New Zealand, and they are pushing out the natives.
There might be outrage there. I don't know.
Well, outrage here in the States, where our news media is complaining about the problem.
The Guardian is in the UK, but that said, Jeff talks about deep holes rather than jobs and construction because he's trying to falsely suggest that the local environment is threatened. In reality, Prospera's ZA environmental protections exceed those of the national government because they actually prohibit pollution. Jeff castigates Prospera ZA for being libertarian, as if libertarian were a curse word. Prospera welcomes a diversity of political perspectives and rejects Jeff's tribal approach. The ZA is a rule of law jurisdiction first and foremost, he says. So I'm going to go back to the hit piece here. This is from The Guardian, and he talks about there's a standoff in which investors are gambling with millions. The government could be at risk of a costly lawsuit, and the fate of the affected communities hangs in the balance. The controversy dates back roughly a decade when the Honduran government reformed the Constitution and passed a law that paved the way for the creation of the Employment and Economic Development Zones, the ZA. Mm-hmm. The idea was ripped from economist Paul Romer's proposal of charter cities, in which the Nobel Prize winner theorized could promote development in areas plagued by poor governance. Romer proposed that a foreign nation act as a guarantor for the governance of charter cities, but the Honduran law instead allowed corporations to build a private city. The issue fell into the background until 2020 when the word spread that the first charter city had been established in Crawfish Rock, to the surprise of the village residents. Louisa Connor said, "We didn't even know what a ZA was." She's the president of the local community association. So what this article does here is they only interview people that don't like Prospera. They never bother to actually seek out anyone on this island. And they must exist.
I'm looking at pictures of, it looks like natives with anti-Zeta sentiment signs.
Is this in Roatan?
I believe that it's in Roatan.
Investors had appeared on Crawfish Rock about 3 years beforehand as a charitable foundation, opening a community center and talking about plans to build a tourist center nearby.
Well, it sounds like that's exactly what they did.
Residents said they saw no reason to be suspicious. Connor said, quote, "It's not anything out of the way for people to come and start building around us or starting projects," she said. Roatan is located about 40 miles north of the mainland and is one of the Caribbean's top tourist destinations and an expatriate haven, renowned for its white sand beaches and world-class diving. Up and down the beach, there are vacation homes and resorts owned by foreigners. Representatives of Prospera. So again, what's so different?
And I want to know how their tax system works, or if they even have one, because that's what pushes these people out of their homes. It's not rich people moving in. It's rich people moving in and changing, adding value to their property, which increases the tax rate, or
I suspect that's less of an issue.
Which gets pushed onto the poor folk who were originally there.
Well, you're presuming there even is a property tax there.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't even know that. I don't even know that that's the problem. But I know that, like in Silicon Valley, where the original inhabitants are getting kicked out by, or not kicked out, but they're getting pushed out by high real estate rates. That's why that is happening there, and I think it's the same thing in New Zealand. But I mean, if you live on a crummy, this is the whole thing about gentrification. You got something that's fallen through the cracks, and the real estate value is down, so it becomes, it's a prime target for people who are trying to make an investment and make a new life for themselves, and to go in there, they can get enough of them, and they can really turn something around, turn a crummy piece of property around, and start a new system. It's sad that the original inhabitants who were living in a crummy situation ultimately suffer a decade or two down the road.
Well, they don't have to suffer.
Yeah, they could
right? They could adapt.
They could also applaud these people who want to come in and invest in their community. Ultimately, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't see what's so bad about
Yeah,
this.
I'm with you on this one, Ian. I don't see what's different about the Prospera that is different from all of the other resorts.
Right.
And why are they picking Prospera?
The difference is
because there are people who intentionally want to move out of the plantation and they want to take their decentralized currency with them that is upsetting the system.
Well, and the difference is Prospera has a special legal carve-out, and the rest of these people don't. And that could come across as a little unfair, right? Like, oh, well,
I guess.
Our resort over here doesn't have tax freedom. Yep. We're not exempted from the regulations or whatever. How come you guys get that?
Well, you know what? They probably should do. They should jump on board.
Well,
we like what you're doing over there. That makes so much sense. We think we could do it over here as well.
That's the thing. I know Mark had mentioned that there used to be a way. Now maybe they're going to get rid of this because they're repealing the ZA law. Mm-hmm. But there used to be a way for other property owners to join the ZA. So there could have been an expansion. But now maybe that's not even going to be possible since they're eliminating the laws. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on and see how this develops.
Well, it sort of raises the question of, okay, well, what is the ZA giving up when it gets a special legal carve out? What sort of legal services is it surrendering? Because you would expect that, right?
Yes.
Maybe they don't get fire service or police service or whatever.
Yeah, I think they have to provide their own security and things like that.
It's clearly worth it to them. I think what these people are realizing is the same thing the Democrats here in Keene realize is that they don't actually. That's not good enough. Those services aren't good enough to justify being held prisoner to these tax schemes,
right?
And to these legal apparatuses that oppress people.
Representatives of Prospera said they informed the community of their intentions in June of 2019, citing a document that was signed by a couple dozen residents that contains the word ZA but doesn't explain what it is. Connor says they deceived us big time. Further inflaming the situation.
Do they not have Google on this island?
Prospera post. They have internet.
They might not. They might just be out there fishermen.
No, they got internet. Prospera posted on their website drawings of 3 stages of expansion that appeared to include the center of Crawfish Rock within its jurisdiction, stoking fears that investors could invoke a legal clause that would allow for the expropriation of the land the community has lived on for generations. Representatives of Prospera promised they wouldn't go that route, but their words provided little comfort. We'll get the Prospera response, and your calls and thoughts are welcome. Coming up.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com. There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, Mark at freetalklive.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. When you got your health, I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Have you seen the TV commercials for GoodRx? It's a website and app that comparison shops for prescription meds. One catch, it only works if you're paying without insurance. My pal Larry doesn't go to a dentist. He lets university dental students hone their clinical repertoire on him. Yes, it is less expensive, and insurance still covers it. One trade-off he's quick to add: plan on spending the whole morning there, because students' work is so closely supervised. Because it's a university, he figures he's getting state-of-the-art care. And when I asked about rookie mistakes, Larry said the students are gentle, just don't let the faculty in there. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, you can join us here, 603-283-6160. We're talking about the ZAs. The Special Economic Zones, which are now an endangered species in Honduras, as the Honduran government gang has undone the deal. They are abolishing
I think
the ZA.
I think it was unanimous too.
Unanimous.
They decided after the last guy was ousted, this new group came in, and for whatever reason, they're not having it. They want you to pay your taxes. They want you to get your permits.
Yeah.
They want you to behave like a Honduran.
They don't want anybody to be exempt.
We can't have these uppities coming in here. I'm reading another article from Rest of the World, and it looks like there was some water problems with the original village. They lost access to their water.
Who did?
The not Roatan, but the Crawfish little village. And
the village itself, not the Prospera people.
Prospera was actually giving their water to the Crawfish people.
Oh, interesting.
And then they gave them some leeway during the COVID era. And then once they was established that Crawfish was turning their water back on, Prospera cut them off. And so I think there's definitely some bad blood going on here, where there's a situation where I think Crawfish, they're a little upset that some rich people are moving in next to them and have better facilities. Probably better everything. I think they're a little
jealous,
envious. Yes, exactly.
Well, that's the thing. This is a private company, basically, and they are going to be able to do it better than governments.
Yep.
And it's going to make governments look really crappy by comparison. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of this.
Well, these private company people, they have to drink this water. The government doesn't have to drink the water that they pump into people at Flint, Michigan.
Or in South American or Central American countries, where if you're drinking the local water, you're probably going to get sick. You got to buy bottled water to not get sick.
By the way, that was the one thing that I was told through and through when I was in Honduras is don't drink the water, the running water, the tap water.
Yep.
Everything needed to come bottled.
I didn't even drink it when I was in Acapulco. I went down there for 2 weeks in 2019 for the Anarchapulco event and was staying with Mark and his family for the first week. Then we went to Anarchapulco. And on day one of Anarchapulco, as we were leaving the house that Mark and his family had, I got very sick.
Yeah.
And
it's all about the septic system.
It might have been the shower.
When you have 1 million people pooping out in the woods, and it's just going straight into the aquifer. I mean, that's it. Your water's tainted.
They just don't even have any good water treatment systems or anything, from what I understand. It's bad.
Yeah.
But I wasn't drinking
I am
the water.
sold on moving to this place.
Yeah, I wasn't drinking the water. I was making a point of not drinking it.
Aria, Prospera has water. They have tanks, and it seems like they have a purification system.
Yeah.
It's the guys next door who didn't have running water for a period of time.
Sounds like they're jealous.
This is sort of the issue I have with some of these communities. Like if I'm living in this place that's got nice, clean running water or whatever, and I look outside my window and I see this 12-year-old kid's dying of tapeworms because his drinking water I can't have a good time looking out my back window and seeing.
It's just one kid, Aria. It's not like there's hundreds of them.
I know, and I'm not saying the people at Prospera have to save the community and anything like that. I'm just saying I don't know how they deal with that. To me, it's. What's the point in being free and doing whatever it is they're trying to do if they're not trying to make life better for other people?
Well, I think they would argue they are. They're saying, look, we're going to hire these people.
That's the way I see gentrification. Ultimately, it works well for everyone.
Right. We're going to hire these people, and if they were legally allowed to, they'd probably expand their footprint as they become more successful and they need more property.
And if you need workers for whatever business that you're trying to start up, then you might end up having to, I don't know, gain their add incentives to them, maybe homes for them and nice clean drinking water and maybe facilities. Ultimately, you can create a little city-state.
So, interestingly, Prospera, in their response at Prospera Global on Twitter, their response to this hit piece in The Guardian, they say that they're countering the claim that they're libertarian. So, apparently, they're not as libertarian as maybe some people would want to think that they are.
Yeah, Peter Thiel has put a lot of money into this project. Is he libertarian?
I don't know who that is.
He claims to be, doesn't he?
He claims, but so does Glenn Beck.
Right. Prospera ZA adopts ideas from across the political spectrum and has a minimum wage indexed to be 10 to 25% more than the national minimum wage. So I guess if locals get a job in the Prospera, they're going to be making more than they would be making on the mainland. Easy union formation, social welfare funding that is employee-owned, and all public officials are fiduciaries. And then they link to a website which is down at the moment.
I don't know what that fiduciary thing means, but the rest of that isn't
that they have a
unlibertarian.
they have like some sort of financial obligation. Isn't that what that means? A fiduciary?
I don't know.
In that case?
But the rest of it isn't unlibertarian at all. There's nothing...
Except the minimum wage.
No, there's nothing unlibertarian about unions either.
Not necessarily. And it is private property. So if they want to set a minimum wage, they can set a minimum wage. You don't have to move there. What does being a fiduciary mean? Fiduciary relationships often concern money, but the word fiduciary does not, in and of itself, suggest financial matters. Rather, it applies to any situation in which one person justifiably places confidence and trust in someone else and seeks that person's help or advice in some matter.
I have no idea how that relates to the trustees of the board or whatever.
I don't either. But going on, Jeff spends a lot of time, Jeff is the article author at The Guardian who's attacking Prospera, spends a lot of time repeating baseless allegations of just 2 Crawfish residents to support his entire article. But what do the vast majority of Crawfish Rock residents actually think? Perhaps he should have asked Virginia Mann. And then they include a minute-long video with an interview of a local resident here.
My name is Virginia Mann, and I am the educational teacher here at Prospera. Oh, it's wonderful. From the day I started at Prospera, I felt like I found the place where I belong. Education can take our kids above and beyond. My purpose to go to the States was to further my education, to give all my learning skills to my community. And I've been trying ever since to try to get kids and parents to realize that education is the future of our children. Prospera is going to bring prosperity to this island. Prospera is going to lift Roatan. It's going to bring employment, it's going to bring education, it's going to bring better hospital, it's going to bring what Roatan needs today. You're going to be left behind. This boat is moving in the right direction and it has all the tools that you need for a better life. Somos Prospera and we are one.
Is she a mover or a native?
Not clear.
I mean, it sounds great, but as I understood it, she went to the United States and she came back.
Say something about the States.
Yeah, and she was told on the. It sounds great, but she's just been sold a sales pitch by the Prospera people. Yeah. Oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. What have they done though? That's all she did is she regurgitated the sales pitch.
They have clean water, Arya.
Well,
it would be like the Free State Project going, we're going to secede. We're going to bring libertarians here. It's like, okay, I don't care. What have you actually done already?
Well, and that's a good question.
They've pissed off the Honduran government. I think that's a pretty good sign.
That is a good sign.
Whatever they have been doing in the last 2 years.
I'm just saying, I'm not sold that this video of this woman saying all of these great things that Prospera is going to do is particularly worth paying attention to. Okay, great. Biden has countless campaign videos where he promises wonderful things.
If I understand correctly, there's $100 million invested in this project.
Is that right?
That's a pretty good starting point.
Well, and again, let's keep an eye. I want to keep an eye on it and see what happens. I mean, I really hope that this does work out for them. I hope that the Honduran government is forced to honor their agreements. I just don't know if they're gonna. More coming up.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Twitter is suing Elon Musk after the Tesla owner abandoned plans to buy the social media platform for $44 billion. In a legal filing, Twitter accuses the billionaire of refusing to honour his legal obligations. As FSN's Washington correspondent Simon Marks reports.
The lawsuit was filed in Delaware. The board of Twitter says Elon Musk mounted a public spectacle by offering to buy the company, then changed his mind, trashed the company, disrupted its operations, and destroyed its value for other shareholders. They accuse him of breaking contract law and say Musk's behavior has cast a pall over Twitter and its business. This is the opening salvo in what will be a very long, expensive legal battle with, for both parties, an uncertain outcome.
A call to arms is how the January 6th committee investigating last year's attack on the US Capitol has described Donald Trump's tweets in the lead-up to the deadly assault. During the 7th, in a series of congressional hearings, lawmakers heard testimony from witnesses laying out ties between Mr. Trump and far-right extremist groups at the vanguard of the violent effort to prevent a peaceful transition of power. As FSN's Benji Hire reports from Washington.
In a mammoth 3-hour session, Jason Van Tattenhove, a former spokesperson for the Oath Keepers militia, a group he describes as dangerous, exposed how they and other rioters were radicalised by Donald Trump's rhetoric. 6 other witnesses also detailed an unhinged Oval Office meeting in December 2020, in which Trump allies clashed with White House lawyers over various plans to overturn the result of the presidential election a month prior. The committee's vice chair, Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, said then-President Trump must take responsibility for inciting the mob, despite many of his close circle admitting and advising him to concede that he'd lost to Joe Biden.
In the UK, the number of candidates running for leadership of the Conservative Party, and therefore to become the Prime Minister, has been whittled down from 11 to 8. Nominations were held on Tuesday, where MPs could choose to back their preferred candidate. Business and US stocks fell on Tuesday as investors await the release of some key inflation data. And Wall Street is gearing up for earnings season to kick off, as FSN's William Densler reports from New York.
June's Consumer Price Index figures are set to be released before the US markets open on Wednesday morning. It's a key inflation gauge and will be watched closely by both traders on Wall Street and the Federal Reserve. The Fed will be keen to see whether their decision to begin aggressively raising interest rates is starting to ease price pressures. The major US indexes fell Tuesday as investors await that inflation news. The Dow closed down 0.6%, the S&P 0.9%, and the Nasdaq dropped 1%. It was, though, a good day of trading for the airline sector. William Denslow, New York.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Phones are open and you can join us here at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And bring up whatever you want to discuss here. You can also follow our Odyssey channel at video.freetalklive.com. Just follow our channel there and you'll be able to watch the show live. You can also watch it later on any old time you want to. Odyssey is a system that is based on the library protocol, which is a media sharing protocol that is decentralized and uncensorable. Library is really cool. You should check it out at lbry.com. And again, follow our Odyssey channel at video.freetalklive.com. We're sharing a hit piece against Prospera, which is one of the ZAs, the special economic zones that has been created in the country of Honduras. And now the government gang in Honduras is trying to undo the ZAs, and there's going to be a big legal fight coming. It's an interesting project, something that our co-host Mark Edge has been absolutely fascinated by over the last several years. He's been there to visit on multiple occasions, and he's seen the Prospera land and seen the plans for what they're trying to do there. The Guardian is on the attack against this. Their article written by a Jeff Ernst, and he is trying to make this thing sound like a colonizer, and the people hate it, and they're destroying the environment, and the people at Prospera have a response on their Twitter, which is at Prospera Global, and they say, no, they actually prohibit pollution in their ZA, and they are going to be giving people jobs at a higher minimum wage than the mainland or that anywhere in Honduras for that matter. And they say, well, the Guardian guy only talked to 2 people for his article. One of them was a community leader, which of course means they're likely to be a leftist, and one of the other property owners in the town that is mad about Prospera existing. So, of course, Prospera put up their own puff piece with a teacher that they had hired to run a school or something like that. And so we definitely have 2 very different perspectives here so far. I'm going to continue with a little bit more here from the hit piece by The Guardian. So they say, as controversy spread across the nation, a movement was born that demanded the protection of land rights and decried the concession of sovereign territory to foreigners and corporations. President Xiomara Castro, who was elected in a landslide in November, made the ZA a signature issue of her campaign. When Castro sanctioned the repeal in April, she called it the most important day in her presidency thus far.
Wow.
For the people of Crawfish Rock, it certainly was. Connor said, quote, words cannot describe how happy we were, unquote. But the elation was short-lived. Just before the repeal, Prospera announced a new round of investments totaling $60 million and the adoption of the cryptocurrency Bitcoin as legal tender. In the weeks and months since, the companies continued to operate as if nothing has changed, moving ahead with construction projects and clinging to their plan to build a libertarian oasis of sorts. Government officials said that any ZA currently operating has just 1 year to conform to another kind of legal framework. But investors claim a sunset clause in the ZA law that gives them a term of at least 10 years, as well as...
Oh, it's like they've never dealt with the government before.
It can change the rules on you.
It's going to do what it writes the rules, it judges the rules, it enforces the rules, and it punishes you when you break the rules.
And Conan, didn't you say they were claiming 50 years? Some other part?
Wikipedia's got 50 years.
Yeah,
grandfathered in all 3 that have survived the repeal.
They claim, here it says, other international trade agreements say that they get them decades more. But again, what happens after, whether it's 10 or 50 years, what happens then?
Well, hopefully, maybe they think they'll be big enough that they can actually...
They can't be stopped.
Fight off. Yeah, exactly.
It'd be real shame to put $100 million into something that only lasts a few decades. I mean, 50 years in the scheme of things is a drop in the bucket. And then what? Have the government come in and swoop it all away from you?
I mean, how long did Disney last?
About 50, 60 years, I think.
That's what I thought, yeah. I mean, and the government of Florida, I haven't followed up on it, but last I heard, they were absolutely swooping in to take it back.
take the land and start charging taxes.
Charging taxes accordingly, yeah.
So let's see here. I'm going to jump back over to Prospera Global and their response. They say that Jeff, the article author at The Guardian, alludes to disputes over land rights and displacing local residents. Can he name one resident we've displaced? Of course not. The statement is false and misleading. There are no land rights disputes, and no local residents have been displaced. Prospera respects land rights with the strongest protections in the world. And then they cite their charter and they link to it. They say this is a misleading tactic by journalists. Mention an allegation without any evidence, but hide behind the guise of plausible deniability. Prospera ZA has no power of external expropriation. Jeff knows this because it's public information. So they can't just take somebody's land like a government does. Although there is supposed to be a way in the ZA law that's now being repealed, as I understand it, for someone who owns other property to join the ZA. And of course, the government doesn't want...
That seems like a much more plausible thing. Like, if I was there living on the outskirts of Keene, and suddenly the town of Marlborough or Swansea or whatever was free and independent or whatever, not loyal or not having to swear allegiance to the United States, and I was like, hey, can I join you guys instead of this oppressive regime over here in Keene? It would be an easy sales pitch.
This is one of the crawfish leaders. Let me read her words and her sentiment, and maybe we can get an idea. Because other than the water supply, I don't really know what's going on. There's some bad blood going on. But anyways, Vanessa Cardenas, one of the leaders of Crawfish Rock, said emotions were running high the night the ZA laws were repealed, and the residents of the village were overjoyed with the decision. I think I was up until almost 2 o'clock that morning texting and calling my friends and family. Louise Connor, leader of the village council, said she can now sleep freely thanks to the law's repeal. Cardenas said she wouldn't mind seeing Prospera turn into a more typical tourist area or a site of economic development. My advice would be...
That's what it's supposed to be.
That would be go pay your taxes like everyone else. Go and get your permits like everyone else, and abide by Honduran law and regulation like everyone else.
That's what this is about. She wants the tax revenue.
Yeah. Yep. This is a leader of the village next door, and
that means politician.
As I understand these ZAs, right, they do pay tax money. It's just all at once and up front or whatever. They're like, hey, we're going to give you some money.
Yeah, but it's going to the Honduran central government. It's probably not going to the town of Crawfish Rock.
But if it was a
then their
if it was a tourist attraction, if it was a big resort, they're going to get all of that. They can tax them accordingly. And that's what this boils down to. That is what this boils down to.
It sounds like this lady's real issue is with the Honduran government that isn't giving some of that tax money back to local communities.
But no one who wants more regulation ever blames the federal government.
I know.
They just want more control.
He says here that there's no allegation of displacement. He says that even in the article, Jeff doesn't interview a single person who claims to have been displaced or expropriated because they don't exist. It never happened. Jeff uses unnecessarily inflammatory language because he has an agenda and is not reporting in good faith. More on this later.
I agree with that assessment. I mean, I haven't heard anything about displacement, and based on the people I know who have been involved in these things, they're not interested in displacing.
He says to claim we're gambling millions is raw editorializing in the disguise of neutral reporting. Nearly $80 million has been raised from sophisticated investors under the strongest legal protections Honduras could ever offer any investor. But Jeff is right about one thing. There are affected communities, not just the way he portrays. 70-plus Crawfish Rock residents work in Prospera. So they are already hiring people, apparently.
Yep.
They're already building things. Prospera's businesses comprise the largest employers of Crawfish Rock residents. Wow.
Good for them.
Now, that's going to be something that, if they hadn't changed people's minds, is going to change people's minds, right? Like people that are working for this organization, presuming they're honest, presuming they're paying as they're saying they're going to, they're going to have good things to say about their experience. Hey, I'm getting paid more than I was working at the shack down the street or whatever, and I can take care of my family better, and these people are doing what they say they're going to do.
Unlike this other government over here, this other entity,
right?
That's never taken care of, probably don't even know who I am on my island up here.
If you want to join the show, you can. If you got any thoughts on Prospera or the special economic zones in general, you're welcome to jump in here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. But how's it going to play out? This is definitely one of the more interesting things to keep an eye on as far as freedom is concerned on the planet, and we will definitely be doing that here. There's more on the way. This is Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm going to tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm going to tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power. But there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones open here. The remaining moments of the show tonight, though. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about the Honduras Prospera project that is under attack by the mainstream media. In The Guardian, they just They put out a hit piece.
It's all about money.
Few days
follow
ago.
the money. This is what this is all about.
Well, I don't know if the Guardian's making money off of
Who
this.
knows? Who knows whose pocket they're in?
They're definitely after these people. There's no doubt about it. And with you tonight, it's Ian.
And Conan.
We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts here. We've almost shared the full hit piece. There's only a couple paragraphs left here. I'll just go ahead and run through it. Legal analysts consulted by the Guardian suggested that in order to avoid a lawsuit, the government could either strike an agreement with investors or challenge whether ZEDEs were created in strict accordance with the now repealed law. The legal advisor for COHEP, the country's largest chamber of commerce, said, quote, "I emphatically believe the repeal is good, but it doesn't end here. Now the state has to review these concessions, and it would be best for the state to verify if all the legal requirements were met, and if not, proceed to cancel the concessions delivered," unquote. Meanwhile, residents...
So they want to look for reasons to take back the agreement, and then they want to take back the agreement.
That's right. Meanwhile, the residents of Crawfish Rock remain vigilant. Connor, the community organizer politician, said, quote, "We have our eyes open. We don't trust no one."
Well, you trusted the government.
Well, she probably is part of the government, wouldn't surprise me to discover. But we've also been sharing some of the responses from Prospera on their Twitter account, at Prospera Global. But our very own Mark Edge apparently has been listening in out in Vegas as he prepares for Freedom Fest, which kicks off tomorrow.
Oh, God, Pestilence is at a festival?
So what's going on, Mark? Your thoughts on this hit piece by The Guardian?
Am I one of the four horsemen now, Arya?
Yes, you are Pestilence, apparently.
Why do I get to be Pestilence?
Well, it's been rumored that, because...
because you're the one that keeps getting everyone sick, man, every time you come visit.
Yeah, you got the experimental gene therapy or whatever they were calling it, and,
exuding your spike proteins all over us.
Yeah. And now you come to New Hampshire and, everyone gets sick.
That's it's a fair critique, I suppose. So let me talk about Prospera.
All right.
When I read that part of the lady's like, why don't they just pay their taxes?
Yeah.
And follow the zoning laws. I was so just inside of me irate. They did. They followed every step of the law. This lady's problem is the law as it existed at the time. And I think this is worth saying. I was at Crawfish Rock 3 years ago when Prospera set up. It is nothing but, it was at the time a collection of nothing but sheds made of corrugated metal. There was nothing there. So the idea that some bureaucrat or politician didn't get to give their little building permit and get their little fee is really pretty laughable. Why would anyone have gone down this the road was better described as a pothole than a road. We went down it in a van, and I feared for my life. It was awful. It's probably a mile long, but a terrible mile. There was nothing as far as internet going out there. There was nothing. And this person's like, pay your taxes. Look what we've done for you. Look what they did for them. Now there's internet out there. They would have had nothing. They had to have a road. They didn't have internet. And that was all brought to them by Prospera. And this woman says, why don't you pay your taxes? They did. It's really, really ridiculous.
Mark, why didn't Prospera work for you? You decided against it and went with the other one?
As far as Prospera goes, I think that they had to forge the way. They were 3 years from start to finish, and they had to make a lot of decisions along the way that I just I wasn't. They weren't ready, and I wanted to see what would happen. I think that it's better to see a bunch of flowers grow, and see what works and what doesn't.
Two and a half years after they've gotten up and running. Have you seen it recently? Do you know what where they're at on the?
I was there earlier this year, probably 2 months ago. Is fair, maybe 3 months ago, and I mean, the road looks great. They've got internet out there. They've broken ground on a building project. They're looking at putting condos in. They're doing everything they said they were going to do. And
apparently employing over 70 residents of Crawfish Rock, which makes them apparently the largest employers.
Absolutely. They're the largest employer of Crawfish Rock. I mean, Crawfish Rock, it is ridiculous to give this village a name.
Yeah, from what you said earlier, it sounds like they're probably the only actual employer in Crawfish Rock.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some residents of Crawfish Rock, now that they have a road, can go out and get a job at Bojangles or something down the road. They can get a motorbike and do it. But before, I don't think they couldn't even, that was terribly passable on a motorbike. Basically, the only way you could get from Crawfish Rock to any place that would give you employment is water taxi, like being a water taxi, and that's a viable job there. And it just means you have a boat and you'll give a ride for money. Or
I did assume that was what water taxi meant.
They've got another clip here where they interviewed more people. So again, we played one where they interviewed one of the educators that they brought on to Prospera, and here's one of people in construction hats. So
see, they should have interviewed Mark, because Mark sold the idea better. They brought them a freaking road where they didn't have one before. That's what they did.
Yeah, that's something they've done here. Here's
Prospera, call Mark. He knows stuff.
Here's what some of the other folks who are working for them have to say. Uh-oh, it's in Spanish.
Does he look happy?
They do look happy.
They look happy. They're smiling. They've got jobs. They got construction hats.
And I realize now they couldn't have interviewed Mark because Mark isn't a local.
Yeah, that's true. I thought they were English speaking, Mark. What's all this Spanish going on here?
Well, I mean, this is the whole campaign is, that's the problem with this, is that there's a Spanish-facing problem, and then there's an English-facing problem, and then interfacing in between. The communists that took over the Honduran government recently, they're not doing any campaigning in English. The only people that believe this crap are uneducated peasants of the Central American countryside. I mean, communism has run its course in Central America, but some people continue. These are ideologues. Like, really, most people in Honduras, they want a job. They want some internet. They want a road. And Prospera's given them all those things. But then there's the people who are like, we hate that you've given those things. Why don't you follow the order of things? And that's really what the problem is. The problem is that, and this is why the Guardian, is there are people that believe that things should be the way that they are. There need to be bureaucrats in charge of whether or not you build on your house. There need to be bureaucrats in charge of whether or not you provide a particular service. Oh, you've got a service doing this, and now you want to do that? Well, you're going to need another license.
Yep.
And we offer those. And like somehow democracy, the voting of ignoramuses, which is all it is. I mean, you and I don't have any business telling somebody who's in a particular field, a specialty, how to run their business, because we don't know. But, that's what the government is. It's people who are put in charge by democratically elected people. And, the idea that we're asking them is really pretty ridiculous. Bureaucracies managed to bubble to the surface throughout the whole human experience, where somebody says, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to do what you want. You need a license from the king. And democracy is no more valid than the king is. But people believe that that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's what the fundamental problem is that Prospera is breaking the current world paradigm. One person in one tiny little place, itty bitty thing, makes life better for some people in Crawfish Rock. And they found somebody in Crawfish Rock that says they don't like it. Well, what a surprise. Local politicians don't like that somebody has to come to them.
They're losing power.
Doesn't have to come.
They hate that.
Unless this person was brought in after the fact. Sounds like some union boss to me. That's usually where they come
They
from.
would have never had the power over these people in the first place because that thing would have never existed otherwise.
Mark, feel free to call in as the Freedom Fest goes on there and give us a rundown of the day's occurrences if you got time. I know that you'll probably be busy out there. Thanks for the call tonight. If you guys didn't get in on the air tonight, we got a couple calls on hold. Out of time tonight, call us back. Call earlier tomorrow night. We'll get you on the air then. See you then. freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy.